all for you like Janet. Can this be a real thing, can it?
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me and the rest of the panel for the Friday Night Shit Show. I would say welcome to Ruben for joining me tonight.
Hello.
And thank you for Just Another Red Shirt.
Hello.
And thank you for Bruce, my best friend in the world.
Should have tested before.
So thank you so much. And I want to say hi to everybody in the chat real quick before we get started with the shit show. Let's see who's in here. Well, hello, Jake. Thank you for joining us tonight. And there's me. I'm in there. And Jackie. Hi, Jackie. American Bob. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Oh, and then Bruce posted something. Six Nations. Thank you for joining us tonight. And let's see, anyone else? Awesome One. Thank you. The Cigar DM. Thank you. Hello to you too. And the Crafting Gamer. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Well, we have a lot of shit on our plate tonight. And so I'm going to share something with everyone first. We'll start off the story with, let's see. Okay, now I'm going to do this myself. So let's see how this goes. I think I'm doing it right. Tell me if I am, guys. Can you see anything?
I see X.
Okay, I'm going to make it. Now, how do I make it bigger? Like that?
There. Oh, Lord.
Can you hear it?
No.
No, you have to share. I think you need to share. Hit the checkbox to share audio. Do you?
I hear it. Oh, I hear something in the background. Like,
yeah, it's just the street noises. Look at it.
Oh.
Oh, I hear that.
Just look at that. Does that look like a place that you would want to hang out or visit? Spend your tax dollars on a vacation? And that's what all of our big cities are turning into. I guarantee that every city, even Little Rock, Arkansas, has a place that looks like that. I think it's Philadelphia, but I'm not 100%. Because it was just something I saw and I wanted to share. Not because of where it was at, it's the fact that I see it happening more and more in every city, in every single state. And because most of our cities are run by Democrats and rhinos, which are pretty much Democrats, right? They all have the same point of view. They all see the same thing as you or their wallet. Or we are.
The whole idea is you do. I said it before. They do not want you to revolt against the government to do something. They want you to plead the government to do something. And this is all built up to nudge you into basically calling for action from them, the people who created it. It is a sick cycle.
Yes. They want you to beg them. They want us to beg them to fix the problem that they created.
Correct.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Cycle.
As long as the solution is more government, they're
more power. More power. That's all they want.
Right.
I mean, it's not. I'm glad you said that it's not just Democrats. I mean, it's kind of like a uniparty.
It's
more like a uniparty of like just people that are aligned with only furthering themselves, their office, and making the miserable state bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard the
Yes.
term public-private partnership? Okay, that's basically the
Yes.
idea. Some of you have it, some of you haven't. The idea that the government and businesses work together to provide solutions for Americans in concert, every aspect. But then what we get out of this is the corruption aspect. We have people that were in the Trump organization that are now run for Pfizer. They run Pfizer now. The guy. And you have the Hollywood people who are infiltrated by the military for using different things for Top Gun was a movie. All these movies that are on aircraft carriers or using military equipment, that's propaganda for the military. It's on both sides. And the thing is that this is the model they want from China. The China is a communist government, but it's a public-private partnership. The government controls the businesses, and that's what's going on here now. It's a silent way of doing it. The way
Now, wait a minute. That's just for the benefit of those who also don't know, Ruben. China is a communist country. Communism is an inherently internationalist, as in we're going to take over the whole world and make everybody a communist.
Mm-hmm.
There was a gentleman in the early 20th century in Italy who thought that the public-private partnership idea was a great idea, but that internationalism wasn't. He wanted to use it for his country to make his people better off. And his name was Benito Mussolini.
Yep.
And he invented a system of government, economic and political system of government called fascism. So whenever anybody says public-private partnership to me, my hackles go up. There is no system of government that's ever been invented that had a public-private partnership that was any damn good.
Right.
Go ahead, Ruben.
And two things to add upon what you just said right now. The minister of propaganda for Mussolini wrote a book. I have to find the details. Wrote a manual how to do this, implement this into your society. And the person who translated that from Italian to English is Pete Buttigieg's dad. No, and the minister of propaganda. If you look it up in Europe, I guys look it up. It's true. His family name owns Netflix. This is not a mistake. This is not. It's all planned. It's not. Sorry, it's not coincidence.
By the way,
it's all planned.
Was that minister of propaganda's last name by any chance Gramsci?
I think so.
Gramsci.
I think so.
Gramsci.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Because the most famous line from him is, "The long march through the institutions. Be patient."
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I tell people all the time. What you're seeing now is not 4 years old or 10 years old or 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's over 100 years old.
Yeah, it's more than that.
This process started over 100 years ago, and it's culminating now. And I've talked with people on other streams.
This phase is happening. It's much older than you think. I know you're going from the 1850s. The timeline leads up to the creation of the Fed and the global, and right. Because again, we're right at that time frame, right before the Fed. Because if you remember, they had a lot of publications, news, gossip was going on. They had no restrictions. They placed those restrictions on. That's why the FTC and the Federal Communications Commission. That's why they had the lockdown on the radio and television. To this day, you can't do certain things on TV or radio and on YouTube. That's the next reaction. That's down the line. People will go too far, and then they're going to say, well, we have to regulate YouTube and regulate this because it's in the better it's a society. I run a Facebook group passively for music, and there is porn that's always placed on Facebook. They take it down, but then the people in chat oh, why can't we have something, get something to have Facebook do this better and take this down? We have to, and like complaining that government has to get involved. And I went, are you fucking retarded? No, don't. If you don't like it, then leave. And Facebook's already taking care of it. The site's still up. They don't take it down because they know people are just publishing stuff, and it's taken down as soon as like I see it, or if I don't see it right away, it's taken down automatically by Facebook. But my channel's not demonetized or anything like that. Well, it's not monetized. Just it's not there.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And again, they purposely are doing this. Again, planned obsolescence. They purposely make things worse. Again, a good American car before the war is now those companies were gone. They were eaten up. They were destroyed. And the thing is, it did this in 2020. A lot of restaurants, a lot of mom and pop shops, a lot of things that were going on, and they had the pandemic go out there, and then they close all this down. And then you have these stores going out, Target, Walmart. You have banks closing down now because again, they are crushing everything. The illusion of choice is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what I see.
Sorry.
But no, the sad fact is that most people don't know what to do about it. All they do is just avoid those areas of town. How does a normal everyday person who just wants to be able to go get their kids from school, go pick up a few things from the grocery store, or go to work and go home, avoid this type of stuff? You can't even park and walk. I mean, many times, and when I've gone to visit different places in Texas now, Texas is getting worse, and Florida. I have relatives in both states, and I will be just going to the store to buy, let's say, 5 or 6 things to make dinner for everyone, and I get approached. Can you spare a few dollars, or can you do this, or can you do that? And instant fear. I get instantly fearful, not knowing what's going to happen, or what could happen to me. And all I'm there for is a few things to take home and make something to eat. So I just don't know how we're supposed to combat this. Besides, like I've always whining about, is to get people to work the polls so we can get honest elections to get rid of some of these people, so that we can actually get decent judges and decent DAs and good police chiefs and things like that, so we can get rid of the corruption. I mean,
yeah, it's multifaceted. It is. There has to be, the shutdown has to happen, and basically people get more involved. Poll watching, judge of election, investigative reporting, and get it out there everywhere. And if they hit somebody hard with censorship, you got to get it out some other way. Jeremy from the Quartering had mentioned the fact that the one thing that happened just recently, the Republican debate was supposed to be a Rumble exclusive, and it was. Yeah. And what happened is, when you go to Google and say Republican debate, it gave you video of the old debate, or it gave you, it didn't point you to Rumble. So Google was denying Rumble's right to show at that. So that again, you have to don't go to Google. That's the thing. That is the other thing that's happening. Like if a millennial, not millennial, if a Gen Z or whatever the frick they are, they tell them to make an egg. They don't know how to make an egg. So then, or better yet, you need some food. Well, let me get the app out and hit the whatever the thing and do the DoorDash or whatever they do. It's all about. And so then people instinctively, well, I need something, and they go to Google and find out where it is. It's the wrong source. Don't stop using it.
And well, because Nikki Haley hit the little Vivek Ramaswamy really hard on Tuesday. It was the only news bite that I found to be of any entertainment. She was trying to get him to pretty much say, like, yeah, I use TikTok. And he's like, well, yeah, I do use TikTok. We got to use every tool to get the people out there, because they're not involved with reading newspapers anymore. They're not involved with wanting to watch the news at 5:30. They want whatever it is right now, what's pertinent, and I'm trying to use every tool at my disposal. Once I get in line, once I get where I'm supposed to be at, and I can have the cameras focus on me, I'll get rid of TikTok. I don't need it. But right now, while I'm in this little fracas with all of you, I'm going to use TikTok because it's getting my name out there. It's got me to 5%. Now, myself, Bruce speaking, I don't think Vivek's got the gas. I really don't, because he's not at the top of the heap. That's for the Florida guy. I feel sorry for him because I do like what I've heard him say, and even DeSantis made some good comments on Tuesday night. And if you're not, really too particular about things, Nikki Haley made some nice, pleasant sounding sound bites for Tuesday night. But the problem for all of this is that they had a debate between the Silver Class Club, which means the losers, the second placers. And the guy that's running shop right now spoke with a fantastic speech to the UAW, or supposed to be to the UAW, but it was not really to UAW. It was guys that happened to work in the auto industry. But the speech that Trump gave, no matter what, it illustrated perfectly why he's at 52% in the lead. And the others, the 7 or 8 of them, however many there are, they're all down there with 5% or less. That's it. And Tim Scott came out on Fox News Business, and he's like, you got to watch Nikki Haley. She's a snake in the grass. She will stab you in the face or in the back. She's not to be trusted. And that's the first thing that I've heard Tim Scott say since he's declared that he wants to be president. That's the first time I've heard him say anything that I agreed with him on. Because I don't like Nikki Haley. I don't like State Department people. That's typically the department that's not for the United States of America. For those of you that are not keeping score.
Well, I have a question from the chat. It says, is the shutdown necessary to correct the course of this country? So I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that, about what you think.
I'll hold my tongue until you guys answer.
I'll let you guys go first. So who wants to go first, Ruben or Red Shirt?
Doesn't matter to me, whichever. Okay, I'll say what I'm going to say. It's another ploy. It's all it is. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a shutdown. The thing, we never shut. We never had I'll say this. It doesn't. It's irrelevant. It really is. It's just more smoke. It really doesn't matter. It is more. It's more smoke. It's just more clicks on the news and all that stuff. It's a ploy. They have to start doing something some real stuff. Not just shut it down. Start eliminating departments, eliminating spending. That's what they have to start doing. It's like cut spending, cut welfare, cut food stamps, cut everything, cut military spending, cut everything. Everything has to go. Enough of this shit.
Why don't we just, for one, just stop sending money to Ukraine?
That too.
Yeah. Well, that would dry up the money laundering supply.
Correct.
I mean, well, how are these people going to live?
I don't know.
I mean,
but
you expect them to live on a congressional salary? A mere $170,000 a year?
I wish I made that much money. It's pathetic. All of this is pathetic. The only people that suffer when we have long shutdowns are the military homes. The wives and the families of the ones that are deployed and things like that. It makes it harder and harder for them to go grocery shopping and pay their bills and things like that. It doesn't hurt that you can't go to DMV, because if you get pulled over, you just say, hey, I couldn't go get my tags because it just shut down. No court.
Well, anytime a government at any level says, we can't operate because we don't have the budget for it. If it's your local government, what's the first thing you're going to tell you? Oh, we can't operate the fire department and the police department. We don't shut down the welfare office.
Yeah, no. We have rural fire departments, which are run by us.
Right.
So I'm lucky to have.
They always shut down the most essential services, but the bureaucratic departments. Oh no! They get a furlough. They get an unpaid vacation, and unless you really pay attention to the news, you won't know that when the government shutdown ends, they get a great big paycheck that pays them all their back pay.
Yes,
they don't. They don't lose a day's pay. So a shutdown doesn't mean a thing. what if you're cynical as I am, the deep state, which is the permanent bureaucracy, which allows the politicians the illusion that they run the government until they step out of line, and then something happens to them. I'd name names, but you probably already know who those presidents are. No, they as long as they're there, as long as those departments are there.
What?
Ruben, you're absolutely right. I mean, the first thing we should get rid of is the Department of Energy, because it's never done what it was formed to do, ever. And the second one we should get rid of is the Department of Education, because they're part of the problem, not part of the solution. My mother served on a local school board back before school boards were putting inappropriate books in school libraries and shutting down parents for complaining about it.
See, but that's also part of the problem.
Right. You don't need a federal Department of Education. Well, you don't need a federal Department of Energy.
Is that we, Americans, became lazy and handed over more and more of our responsibility as parents and the leaders of our households to the government to do it instead. Just like I mentioned earlier today in one of the spaces, is about the reason they started using machines to count ballots and things like that is because nobody signs up to work the polls. When you go in, it looks like a nursing home, because that's the only people that will show up. And when you can't even get people to do it when you're paying them, how do you expect to have anybody show up if it's volunteer? They don't. People don't want to do anything. And that's the problem, is we've got to get motivated, realizing that we are all that's left between the government and our lives. There's no one left to protect what we have. And it's you.
Somebody said,
we do it, it's not going to get done.
I don't know whether it was on your show last week when I was here or another show that I watched, but if you listen to Abraham Lincoln's speech, which is a characterization of the government of the United States that a lot of people like to quote, but they have a tendency to forget one of the three clauses. He said, a government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Right.
The people have to be involved in governing themselves. If you leave it up to a bunch of elected people and a bunch of unelected bureaucrats and you do nothing yourself, well, then it's not a government of the people or by the people, and it certainly won't be a government for the people once the bureaucrats are done with you.
It's so funny. I'm looking here now, just for shits and giggles. All of the United States departments and when they were created, and all of the major problems started in 1953. The double helix problem, per se, where you had again, we had up until like the 1700s, we had state, treasury, and war. Then we had justice, post office, navy, and then we got 1890s. After that, before 1800, all of those, the Navy was the first military, and then it had its own department. Then 1849, Interior, agriculture. Then you had commerce in 1903. Then everything started to get all hinky. Labor was 1913. Think about that. And then you had defense after the war, which was changed. It was the War Department changed to defense in 47, and then 47 was in portion because it hit the UN, Israel being created in 48, all that stuff. But then the really fun ones, numbers 12 through 18, happened, and they all had a correlating event. Health and Human Services, 1953. Housing and Urban Development, 65. And here was a Great Society, all the things that went to shit there. Transportation, 66, where we are now with transportation. And then the big ones, it gets even worse. Energy, 77. Education, 79. Veterans Affairs, 89. They broke off, but it's still like the VA is a piece of shit. And then the last one, of course, Homeland Security. So it's again, all of these things that are meant to help cause all the problems.
Well,
It's
they're
insane.
not meant to. They're not meant. Okay, let me try this and I'm sorry. I'll apologize for coming up with a dry history lesson here, but I'm going to put on my history professor's hat and say the philosophy of progressivism is that when you put the smart people in charge of society, they will make a better society. Now, the best place to put those people to give them the right leverage to change society is the federal government, because that's where they have potentially the most power. So early on, the progressives realized that what they wanted to do was take control of the federal government and use it to benefit and better society. But let's be clear, their definition of better.
Right.
Do you know who the first progressive president was? Literally the first that was avowed progressive.
FDR?
No, it was Roosevelt. I thought
it was
Teddy Roosevelt.
It was Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt.
At the turn of the century.
Yes.
You want to know why? What you just said, Ruben? Why all of this stuff started happening at the beginning of the 20th century? It's because Teddy Roosevelt, followed by Wilson.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, my favorite president, Calvin Coolidge, was an interregnum. He was the only president who's ever shrunk the federal government.
Yes.
They hated him for it.
Oh God, he cut everything.
For it.
He cut everything. And again,
yes, he did.
And he was Silent Cal too. He was the anti-Trump in a way. He was very quiet.
Yes, he was. There's a funny story about him that actually I think may actually be true. Is that two of his aides came to him one day and said, "We have a bet, sir." And he said, "What's that?" And the one said, "Well, I bet him that I could make you say more than 2 words." And Calvin Coolidge looked at the aide and said, "You lose." No, Coolidge was famous for being very laconic, but he was also a man who didn't believe that the government solved problems.
No.
And in that, he was an old school New Englander. And then, of course, after him, we got FDR with Herbert Hoover in the middle. But that was, he was just blindsided by the stock market crash, then made it worse. FDR came in and said, "I'll fix it." And he made it worse for 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, but the thing is that the reason that the Roaring '20s happened is that they started utilizing ways to get other people's money per se through the stock market. They basically started the whole idea of fractional buying, leverage on what you don't have. They basically sold people, invest in this, invest in that, invest in these businesses. These same businesses that were held by one person become a corporation, and then the corporation was broken up to have different little things. So you can, again, the illusion of choice, buy all these things and invest in it. And then when you lost, they bought it back on pennies on the dollar. So they made you poor. It's stupid. I see it now. And the thing is that, here's one last thing. The Depression around the world in the 30s was only called and only affected the Great Depression here in America because we made it worse.
Yes, exactly.
Everywhere else, it was getting completed. And remember what happened also? The big thing they came after you that people have now, gold.
Yes.
And that's not going to happen again.
So what do you think is going to happen if they say we're going to come to your house and confiscate your gold, or we're going to go to your bank accounts or any of that stuff to get your certificates?
Find me. I don't have a bank account. I don't have a home.
I know maybe you don't. I know. But I mean, other people.
Actually,
what do you think is going to happen?
Then, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying that is why I know what's going to happen, and it's going to get much worse. There'll be a brighter day, but we have to go through this shit we're going to go through. You haven't seen anything yet. The shit show will be real. Shit's going to hit the fan very soon.
That's what I'm afraid of. I was hoping that we could figure out some way around another Civil War type of thing.
Well,
we
might not have a civil. We might not have a civil war, but we might find out what it's like to live in Germany in the 1920s. in Weimar Germany.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, but the difference between us, I know, but the difference between us and Germany has been when they come to my house and try to take what I have, there's going to be a firefight. There's going to be a firefight.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that. They didn't take what you had. The money that you earned was so devalued by the next day that it was worthless, or nearly, compared to what being paid.
Like someone like me that has chickens and water, their own water, things to barter with and things, they're going to try to stop us from being able to go to like a little local area and swap beef and milk and salt and things like that. And they're going to come and they're going to try to kill everyone and take our stuff. That's where the fights are going to break out.
Well, they're going to be very busy first with dealing with the people who don't have chickens and neighbors with a cow.
Yeah, in every big city.
Because in the cities, yes. So the point is, in Germany during the Weimar Republic, the people who were the hardest hit by the inflation were the middle class. Farmers were not hit hard by it. They would just keep growing their crops and if necessary, making a deal with the local miller to grind their rye or wheat. And then they'd take it back and they'd make bread out of it and they'd eat it. The person who got screwed was the factory manager, who was previously making a good money, but that money the next day was worth 1/10 as much. And there's an
look at Venezuela.
Exactly. Yeah, Venezuela is another. I mean, that's the most recent example. There's
where you can talk to people.
Zimbabwe too.
Zimbabwe is the third. Yes, there's a story from Weimar Germany where somebody took a wheelbarrow full of money to go to the store to buy a loaf of bread. When they came out to get the money to pay for the bread, the wheelbarrow had been stolen. And the money was lying on the sidewalk because the wheelbarrow was worth more than the money. That's what hyperinflation can do. Yeah. It can literally bring you to the point where they won't steal your money, they'll steal your wheelbarrow. If you get yourself in a position where you can operate with a minimum of money, then hyperinflation doesn't hit you. But the problem is that that's very difficult to do in our very interconnected technological society, because to do that, you literally have to go back to being a self-sufficient farmer. And by the way, that means you have to go back to about 450 AD, which is otherwise known as the Dark Ages, which is when most people were self-sufficient farmers living off of a piece of land they lived on. Yeah, that's how far back. That's how far back you have to go to eliminate any interconnected technological society. The Romans in Great Britain, I've watched an archaeology program, and the difference between Roman Britain and Anglo-Saxon Britain is night and day. Roman Britain had towns, shops. You could go and buy goods that you didn't make on your own farm. Then you could come back to your farm and you keep growing the things that you brought into town to sell, to buy that other stuff to take back to your farm. So you could eat off of nice pottery. You could eat off of nice plates. Nobody had plates once the Romans left. You started scraping wooden discs into bowls and eating off of handmade wooden plates again, which of course archaeologists can't find because they rot. So there's very little that comes from that era because it was almost all made from materials you could make on your own property.
Yes.
That's self-sufficiency. It's not a very pleasant lifestyle. Trust me on this one. It's brutally hard, and you are always at the mercy of one harvest, one bad growing season, and you are toast.
Yeah,
and
no rain.
One thing to say,
but
no rain, a lot of tornadoes, really, really hot, or bad cold weather, or floods, earthquakes. I mean, nature can do a lot of damage.
But it does go back to what I said last week. The idea that when you wanted to build a car, you built the entire car. You yourself or the company had
Mhm.
10 people who could build 10 cars, and they all knew how to build a car. And then
Mhm.
the Industrial Revolution made it so that you're the tire guy, you're the engine guy, you're the door guy, you're this and that. So you're specialized in one thing, but then again, you can't do anything else. So if the car breaks down, you can't fix it. And then now these cars are so electronic that only special technicians can fix them. Then you can then if the car, there's no power to put the damn thing in, and then you're shit out of luck. Your Tesla doesn't do shit.
Right.
But that's the whole thing.
Robert Heinlein.
Go ahead.
Okay. Robert Heinlein was one of my favorite science fiction writers, and he hated the idea of specialization. He said specialization was for insects.
Mm-hmm.
He gave a list of 20 things a man should be able to do. Now, I like his idea, but Robert Heinlein was a product of the Great Depression, the early 20th century. He died in the 1980s.
Mhm.
The only reason we can have the level of civilization that we enjoy right now is because we do specialize. I'm a software engineer. You turn off the power, I can't do anything because my computer's dead. Well, it's dead in 4 hours when the battery runs down, and then it's dead.
Mhm.
The thing is that a specialized society can be very, very sophisticated. Milton Friedman, a long time ago, back when I was in college, 40 years ago, gave a speech once where he held up a standard number 2 pencil. And he said, "Are you aware that nobody knows how to make one of these? Something as simple as a pencil. It's got a wooden octagonal body, a rod of graphite running through it, a little brass ferrule that holds an eraser on the end. That's all it is. Oh, and orange paint.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is a pencil. Nobody knows how to make it. Well, the thing is that you need metalworking, smelting. How do you get the metal unless you go salvage it off of some derelict car and you grind it down and you hammer it out and then you wrap it in, But the point is that you need to go cut down a tree. You need to get a piece of wood, 2 of them, cut a channel in both. Now, how do you get graphite in a rod form? I don't know where to get graphite. I don't even know where to find it. So I don't know how to make the graphite for the pencil. The ferrule, yeah, I could probably fake that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm pretty certain it wouldn't be that hard. It's just trying to find supply line. And once we get that, it's just getting the graphite either milled or in a format to where we can make it basically a rod. And thank God it's a soft metal or a soft stone to where you can just grind it to where literally a pencil sharpener works.
Mhm.
Right. But that's the point, Bruce. That's what you just said. Supply line. That's specialization.
That's gone.
One guy's going to provide the graphite. One guy's going to provide the shaped pieces of wood. One guy, a blacksmith, is going to provide all the little pieces of metal. And some goofy guy who likes to travel to South America is going to come back with the rubber for the erasers. You got to have all those people.
Erasers. I think we could find something in modern society that would double for the erasers. I think.
Well, you can, but my point, Bruce, is that when you break these connections, you don't have modern society anymore.
Correct.
It's gone.
Yeah, just
your
like
supply lines are gone.
Yeah, they did
your blacksmith down the road is gone. That's what happened when the Romans cleared out of Great Britain. The potter down the road was gone. That's why you had to carve your own wooden eating utensils again. So the point is, this is very fragile. And Forgotten Man, A New History of the Great Depression is a great book written by Amity Shlaes, who's a professor at one of the, I believe was a professor at one of the Ivy League schools. This is the first book I ever heard of that said, not only did FDR not get us out of the Great Depression, he made it worse.
Yeah.
And this book is all about the forgotten man, i.e., the people who fell through the cracks. And if you watch, a movie like Hard Times, or you watch a movie like The Sting, you see these people. these are the people who stood on bread lines, who waited in soup kitchens. The 25% unemployment during the Great Depression was brutal. If you had a job, it wasn't that bad because you could buy dinner for $1.25. You could buy a cup of coffee with 2 refills for 5 cents.
The 5 and
A
dimes.
penny
Go down there.
was actually worth something.
Right.
But the bottom line is that economics is unrelenting. The politicians like to pretend that they can ignore the laws of economics, and some economists think so too.
Well, it's because they all kick the can down the road. That's why.
Yeah, that's all they do.
They just kick the can, just like they're doing with the budget and everything else. They just say, "Well, it's not our problem. We won't be around when it collapses. We won't be around."
Right.
They just keep kicking it down the road.
But they might well be. And my thing is that if we had hyperinflation, all of the stuff I've been talking about, where interconnectedness, I mean, how do you pay somebody unless you are sitting on a pile of gold and silver coins or gold powder or actual? Now, by the way, that's what's known as real money. That paper stuff the government issues is not money. It's an IOU.
Thing is, I think it's going to be worse. I think it's going to be worse than that, because I think that even gold and silver isn't going to be worth enough, because if you don't have food or water, it doesn't matter if you have a pile of gold. Yeah, Bruce.
Well, the thing is that that's important too. Okay, you can go all the way back to a barter system, but I'll say this. Gold and silver and things like it have intrinsic value because they're rare. Not everybody has it. So if you tell somebody, I'll give you a dime, solid silver dime, if you'll give me a basket of fruit or a basket of vegetables.
Yeah.
They go, okay, now I've got a dime that not many other people have. And if somebody I find actually wants to try and bring civilization back, they're going to need silver, because they're going to need it to make a lot of things. So if there's any manufacturing, you holding on to silver is going to make you rich, because they're going to want it to manufacture things with.
Well,
now, if it goes far enough down, then it's gone. Now you're at barter.
But see, the thing is, what I'm looking at and where I think we're going to go, okay, this is just my point of view, is that it's going to be past that. Because if you watch any shows, like, any of these zombie shows or any of that stuff, okay, where people have nothing, where there is nothing, okay, everybody's dying. There's no manufacturing going on. People are making their own little colonies and trying to protect each other in their own groups, right?
Right.
And gold doesn't matter. If you have a pig, if you have a chicken, if you have a well, if you have the means to grow crops, things like that, or scavenge around to try to find something, a push pedal sewing machine, stuff without power, because you don't have anybody refining oil to make gas. You don't have any of that stuff anymore. So it's all going to be down to bare necessities. And to me, someone who can sew, someone who can grow food, or raise chickens, or things like that other people can't seem to do, hydroponics, any of these things are going to be worth more than gold or diamonds.
Because they may well be.
The guy sitting there surrounded with piles of gold is still going to starve to death because he has no way of getting food and water. So to me, that's the thing that I try to teach people, is how can you grow your own food? You can make your own makeshift little greenhouse, how to go to different websites and figure out how to raise your own chickens in a small area, because plus you got to be able to do it without having a rooster. Okay. That makes a lot of noise, because your neighbors are going to hear the rooster and know you have chickens and come and shoot you and take your stuff. That's where I think we're going.
Thing. Yes. Okay. So let's say we go all the way there. We are back past money. We are strictly into a barter system.
Yes.
Then you have two problems. You have to have resources, be they chickens or a cow or a pig or goats,
water,
and water. Yes, you better have a well or a stream nearby that you can run through boil or run through a filter or something like that, which means you better know how to make a fire so that you can put a pot on the fire and boil water so that so that it doesn't make you sick and die. But you also need the means to defend that stuff. Yep. Now, if you have firearms, can you make more ammunition? That's really hard. I have been a reloader. I've made ammunition. But it's because I bought primers and I bought brass and I bought powder and I bought bullets and I put them together. It's like baking. You have to be very precise because the consequences can be severe if you screw up the recipe.
Yeah,
I can't make any of those things. Now, if you have a black powder rifle and it doesn't blow up on you, you can make black gunpowder. You can make black powder. I won't tell you how. I don't know the proportions. Technically, at least for the Bureau of for the benefit of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, I do not know the actual recipe for black powder. I want that on the record.
Yeah,
you can find or scavenge lead and cast it and make bullets and projectiles. Okay, hell, people in Africa have fired rebar. They saw rebar into 1 1/4 inch or something lengths and stuff it down the barrel of their smoothbore musket, and they fire that at something. They usually get their heads handed to them because it doesn't kill the animal. But that's another story. But the point is that once you get to where you are, the problem becomes defending your resource, because that's going to become survival of the fittest, and it's going to mean that the person with the most strength is going to have the most power.
One person losing weight.
That's going to be a war of all against
people
all.
That you trust. And that's why today it's important to build relationships with others that are like-minded, think a lot like you do, but also have other skills. So when you combine with each other, you can help each other and sustain whatever it is that you need to be able to sustain. Even if it never happens, to me, it's best to have a plan of some sort on how you're going to survive if that happens, even if it's only for a short amount of time. Because if we only have to barter for 5 years, the factories and stuff will still be salvageable. It's when you have to wait 60 years and rebuild everything. That's when it's going to be really hard. And the problem with that is the knowledge will be lost. People will be dying. So the way to do certain things you won't have unless you have somebody that teaches the next person, like shoeing a horse or doing any of the other skills like sewing. Okay, a lot of people don't know how to crochet to make blankets or whatever it is you need. So it's passing on the knowledge to the next generation, which is what we're not doing, because we got more and more people that rely on their electronics and they don't know how to do things hands-on, just like you said about making pencils. Well, you don't need pencils if everybody types on the computer, right?
Well, do you know, I've seen television programs about this. Do you know how many people under the age of 30 right now know how to cook?
Not very many.
I love it.
Know how to take a vegetable from a garden. Never mind learning how to dress a chicken. Let's assume that you can dress the chicken for them and give them in exchange for something a cleaned chicken. So now they have a perfectly cleaned, ready to cook chicken and some vegetables from their garden. Do you know how many people under the age of 30 today know how to turn that into a meal?
Very few.
Gordon Ramsay has done programs about this. Other chefs have done programs about this. They because they've looked around and found out, call us if you don't know how to cook. And they get flooded. And they can do a year's worth of episodes just going to someone's house and teaching them how to cook a simple meal because they don't know how. That's why so many Americans are fat. They're eating processed food that is, pour this in a pot, add water, heat, and then eat.
Well, remember last week when I said I was shocked when I saw that news account of the woman who got separated from her family and they were on a camping trip and she was missing for 4 days. And when they found her hands are all drawn up and she was very, very severely dehydrated. And they said that she was lucky that she was found because she was going to die, because you cannot survive a certain amount of time without water. And they said, you went by 3 or 4 streams. Why didn't you drink water? And she said, I didn't have a cup I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Yeah.
My dad was a jungle survival instructor, and we drank water right. I mean, we stuck our face in the little
What
creek
is
and
this?
drank it. Okay.
What is
Yes.
this?
Yeah. But the thing
Okay.
is that people today, that happens to people because they don't, not just like you said, they don't know that you could pull a carrot right out of the ground and eat it.
We saw this in Katrina.
Without having
We
to
saw
feel
people
it.
that were
Yes.
just being stupid. That just didn't know what to do.
Yes.
Or
just sat there.
potatoes.
Come and get
And by the way,
tomatoes.
for your survival situation, Janet, I was taught in the Boy Scouts the
Mhm.
rule of threes. You can last 3 minutes without oxygen. You can last 3 days without water, and you can last 3 weeks without food.
Yep.
And that's it. And so if you're out in a situation where when I hunted, I always carried a whole bunch of stuff in my fanny pack because I have a very weak right ankle. I sprained very badly back in college. And I knew that if I stepped on a log that I didn't see under the leaves in the woods, I could blow out that ankle again and render myself utterly unable to walk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what do? Well, first thing I do is I turn on the radio my hunting guide gave me and I yell for help. And if he doesn't answer, okay, I'm spending the night. Or at least until the main game, game wardens show up and find me. But that's the thing. Survival skills, short term versus long term. You're talking about long term survival skills, 5 years. It starts with short term survival skills. Where do I find water? Where do I find food? Where do I find shelter? Those are the 3 things you have to have. Can't find those. It won't matter whether it's 5 years or 60 years or 6 months. You're done. So, there's a lot of things that are worth learning. Your idea on prepping, that's a good idea. But, food, you could have as you said, you could have a closet full of gold and starve to death because nobody wants your gold. Well, you can have a pantry full of food and die of thirst in 3 days if you don't have a way of purifying water. And if you don't, you're dying of dysentery in about 2 weeks.
Imagine the
slow agonizing
diseases, malaria, dengue fever, malaria,
or getting snake bit,
cholera.
Plenty of those around here.
Outbreak happened in New York. Oh my God.
Or bears, cougars,
my point is simply, my point is simply prepping, meaning preparing for a disruption in society and its services and all of the things you take for granted is not just a matter of having a room stuffed with canned food. It is also understanding what you need to know to survive day after day, week after week, when nobody's coming to help you, when there's no electricity, when your running water may be turned off because their pump doesn't work because the power's off and they can't pull water out of their well anymore. And if you don't have a hand pump well, you need a stream. And it had better not dry up in the summer or you're done. So this is the kind of thing. And this is why I say, I said it last week, I said, let's try and work within the system and hope it, before it collapses or goes sideways or what have you, because life gets a lot harder if the system goes pear-shaped. And you can read about Weimar Germany, you can read about Zimbabwe, you can read about Venezuela, and I pray it doesn't happen in this country. But I think there are people who would be perfectly happy if it did.
Yeah, of course.
Well, the thing is, it's funny.
It's not a question of if; it's a question of when.
They think it's not going to happen to them.
No, it's going to happen.
Well, they think that they will be insulated from it, but I'm not sure they're right because I don't think they're anywhere near as smart as they think they are. So they think they've made their plans and they'll be okay, I think they're wrong, which is the scariest thing to me. Because if they are wrong, then they are going to go over the cliff with all of the rest of us. Because they're idiots.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. Prepping is a great idea. Having food, if you're able to in your area, having firearms and the ability to shoot them is very,
Well,
very
it's just like
useful.
every family, normally, when you have a husband, a wife, or whatever your family's made up of, and your children, and you tell them, okay, if there's a fire, this is the routes to get out of the house. This way, that way, out this window, down this rope, or through this door, blah, blah, blah. You know, you set things out like that. You train your kids just like they do at school. If there's an earthquake, what they're supposed to do, or if there's a fire, how they're supposed to get out of the school, all these things. So if you're doing all these things, why wouldn't you want to have some type of plan at your home, especially knowing the situations that we could be in? If there's a solar flare and there's no power, you don't go out anywhere, because unless we know where you are, because you're not going to be able to call us. There's no way for you to phone us. There's no way for you to just get on a computer at the library or anything. So there's rules you're going to have to set to make sure that you know what to do if an emergency happens. And, I just don't think anyone's planning ahead.
No.
I would say maybe a few people, but not very many.
Well, they're all. Go ahead, Ruben.
No, I say they're not prepared, because I go when I go out. I don't know why I can't stand seeing people, because they're just doing dumb things. They're just shopping. They bring out the cart. They have they're complaining about the food that they have to spend so much money on, and they're just buying processed crap. It's just they are, and then nobody is doing anything. They're just living their own happy life, and then they just are they're gonna have a rude awakening completely.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
And the people, until very recently, the press loved to write, "Let's all laugh at this idiot" stories about preppers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, these guys all think that the world's going to come to an end. Let's all laugh at them. It's kind of like, late night talk show hosts. We're going to point, I'm going to point out all the people who are stupider
Preppers
than
and
you are.
Conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? Preppers are not quite so laughable, and haven't been in the last few years. People are starting to realize, these guys might have an idea or two. And I know, because I've known people and friends who've been in the Church of Latter-day Saints. One of the tenets of the church, one of the things that they tell all their members is you should have a 6-month supply of food in your house at all times.
And water.
Yeah. And most people look at you like, how much is a 6-month supply of food? And they don't even know. They don't even have any idea how much food that is. We have 2 rooms in our house that are absolutely stuffed with food. Canned, home canned, commercially canned, dried, you name it. I mean,
powdered
it's
milk,
a closet.
Sugar,
salt. Yeah, you got it. Flour.
Allegedly.
We can make bread. We have chickens. We have eggs. We can make pasta. You grow tomatoes. You can make tomato sauce. You grow tomatoes and a couple of herbs. You can make a good tasting tomato sauce. I mean, it's not.
Seeds are important too. A lot of people don't realize that you need seeds, because even if you have to get in a car and leave, or on horseback or whatever, or walk, you're going to have a backpack or something filled with fast growing seeds, like for bean sprouts, because believe it or not, you can grow bean sprouts on the banister of your stairs. As long as there's just a little bit of light, you can make them. And guess what? You can put them on sandwiches. You can make all kinds of stuff with it. But guess what? It's healthy. It's something sustainable that has vitamins that you need and nutrients that you need to sustain you. And it fills up a lot of other things. But it's something that you can make and grow very quickly. That's edible and healthy. You can eat cattails. They grow on ponds, but that's only if it's that time of year. Fiddleheads are the little tiny little.
No, wait a minute, Janet. I gotta disagree with you there, and I know this from several different experts.
Mm-hmm.
Every month of the year, there is a part of a cattail that is edible. Spring, summer, winter, spring, summer, fall,
Yeah,
and
the
winter.
stalks and stuff. I'm talking about the actual cattail.
Well,
the
you can eat
green thing that
yeah,
goes
but you can eat the root of the cattail in the
up. You can
wintertime.
eat dandelion greens, which is the
Right.
leaves and stuff. I mean, there's tons of things you can eat. You can even eat the
That's-
dandelion if you really are
Yes.
hungry.
Now, the danger with what you're saying, and I think we need a disclaimer here, is that wild food foraging can kill you if you don't know what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And
If you
it
don't know
really
what you're looking
need-
for, don't eat it.
Yeah, if you want to do that, you need someone who is a local farm. Do your reading, use
Mhm.
the internet, but then find somebody in your area that knows the flora of your area and can
Mhm.
show you how to find the edibles and make sure you recognize them.
Your local
fiddleheads are
forest
great.
ranger.
Yeah, fiddleheads
Look
are
at how-
great, except if you
Mhm.
pick them too late and they've unrolled too much, they're toxic.
Yeah.
They're
Same
great
thing with
when
poke
they're
salad.
tight.
Poke
Yep.
salad, you've got to pick it right. It's got to be cooked properly so you don't get sick. Same thing with catfish. There's lots of things you have to learn about anything
Exactly.
that you're going to get on your
So-
own. So make sure you have manuals or research or people to help you with any of that
Yes.
stuff.
Is it? I don't.
There's a
I
great
have to-
series of there's
No,
a great
no,
series
I-
of books called the Foxfire books. Have you ever heard of them,
Yes.
Ruben?
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
yes.
Go.
No, I'm just saying. I can just see it. The government's going to say, due to the crisis right now, you can't cook your own food because a lot of the pathogens out there are going to basically say, we're going to give you MREs. Instead.
I found the best comedy the other day.
Yeah.
There's a
You're right.
website for the USDA where they want you to register your garden. The
Oh God, yes.
USDA wants
Mhm.
people to log what they've got growing in their garden.
Yes,
No.
and somebody posted earlier about regulating your rainwater and making you pay taxes on it.
That's
So,
going on in Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there are
Germany.
states that have already banned the collection of rainwater.
yeah,
made it
so if they
illegal.
can do it. Yeah. So what I'm saying is you got to do a lot of things without telling people about it. You just have to do it. Just like I
Right.
was talking about using your basement to grow mushrooms and other types of fungi. And you can also do the hydroponics that I was talking about, where you use your little fish that you're growing, the small ones, so that you can you have fish to eat, but also using their water, recycling through your hydroponics. So
What
you're
are the-
fertilizing your greens, but you also have fish to eat. There's lots of things
key-
like that you can look up and how to do it for
Yes.
yourself.
And the key that I want to point out, whether it's foraging, whether it's growing your own food, whether it's how to maintain a garden in different climates at
Or how to
different times of the
process it.
year,
Mhm.
how to process things. Okay, do you know how to kill and clean a chicken? Do you
Mhm.
know how to make a squirrel edible if you can shoot one? That type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, the harder,
I've seen two deer gutted and that I shot but it was done by my guide. I have the basic idea of how to gut a deer. So in theory, I could shoot a deer, gut it, bring it back. The problem is I don't have any place to hang it. So it has to be cut immediately and go into a refrigerator. 'Cause I live in
Mhm.
Central Texas. It only
Yep.
gets cold enough to hang a deer here for about 2 weeks out of the year.
Mhm.
But that's
So you
the
need
thing.
more than one person. You definitely should have more than one
Right.
person when it comes to bigger game to be able to process it. If it's a bear or even something that big as an elk, you should probably have 3 people. So
Fuck
that's
bears.
what I said. The whole buddy
I
system is
think
going to be
but-
very
but-
important.
But
for
in
this
the
type of thing.
end,
Mhm.
end, what is most important, because what will kill you the fastest is ignorance.
Mhm.
You need to learn about all of these things.
Mhm.
It is not enough to have beans and rice in your house if you don't know how to cook them.
Mhm.
It's
That's
not enough
right.
to have it's not enough to have a Berkey water filter if you don't know where to find the water for it.
Mhm.
So the main thing is, before the internet disappears, before you can't get to a library, before you can't order the full set of the Foxfire books from Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
get off your butt and start learning things that will be useful to you in the event that there isn't anybody outside of your immediate circle of neighbors and friends and contacts that will help you. Because
Well,
here's the one thing that will doom you. If you have no resources, no knowledge, and no skills, guess what? You're a useless mouth. Nobody's going to want to help you.
That's it. No one's going to want you on their team.
Yeah,
that's why it's important, if you have a family, to make it fun. Okay. My dad used to make it fun for us. He would take us camping and teach us how to fish and how to clean our fish. Then he'd show us how to build a fire and how to put the fish on a stick and cook it. So he would teach us stuff like that. My mother taught us how to make beef jerky. And the fun part was letting us come up with our own seasonings and showing us how to season it and then make it. And then we get to sample each other's stuff. And we would say, oh, this tastes like shit. And we said, well, we don't like this one. And my mom would say that was bad and that was made by that sister or whatever. So, you can make it fun, but you're teaching your children also how to prepare and to find and be able to do these things themselves too, in case you're not with them. You may not be around anymore. Now they're stuck not being able to do it themselves, just because you didn't think twice about teaching someone else to do it. Just like I said, what if it's only 5 years? Well, we still have enough people around, most likely, to take over and restart the factories and restart everything. But if it's been 15 to 20 years, a lot of these people may not be around. So who's going to teach you how to be able to restart that factory or to run that power plant or to make those pencils, any of those things, if someone doesn't pass on the skills. All that stuff's important.
I do have to say, I feel very thankful I'm in a nerd community because there's a blacksmith up in San Marcos that they have for the Sherwood Forest Fair. The Texas Renaissance Festival, I think it's going on starting in October through the spring. That is a prepper haven if you can get around like the cross dressers and all that shit. If you can stand all the people in cosplay and the various stages of cosplay, you'll be fine. Go there, you can learn some stuff, pretty cool shit. But there's like a bunch of people that go to these things because it's a veritable. It kind of like is going to the mall when you were a kid. Going to the mall used to be cool. You used to learn stuff. Used to get exposed to new people, new ideas. Going to a Renaissance festival and watching people craft the dresses there or do the smelting or hammer out a tool. And this is going on weekend after weekend after weekend. I'm going to tell you guys, if you don't have one of these near you, if you can go to one that's within a day's drive, go for it. Because it will open your eyes to some skills that you probably have yourself. And it'll be a quick way for you to see somebody use those skills in action. So whenever, if you want to actually try it yourself, you know how to position yourself and you know what to expect out of your body. Blacksmithing is not a old man's game. Old men can become blacksmiths, but it's better to start that when you're young.
Yeah. You have to have good hands.
Yeah, I remember a story I read about. It's one of these, it's sort of like Colonial Williamsburg, except it's Colonial Sturbridge Village in southern Massachusetts, south central Massachusetts. And there's a mill with a water wheel where you can see how a mill works and how a water wheel turns the grinding wheels and how the grain is turned into flour. There is a tinker's shop where he's a tinsmith, and there's a woodworker's shop, and he makes beautiful Windsor chairs with the sculpted wooden seats and the round legs that are spread and the cross pieces to the legs and that arched back. And I mean, they're elegant chairs and they're beautiful and they're well over 100 years old as a design. And he would start out every year with a whole bunch of pieces of wood, and he'd cut the rough shape of a chair seat, and he would be demonstrating for people who came to visit Sturbridge Village. And he'd have a hand tool called a scorp, which he'd be using to scoop out the wood from the seat to make the shape that will accommodate your butt, so it doesn't become, it isn't like sitting on a school chair or a church pew without a pad on it. And somebody would inevitably say to him, why don't you get a power tool, like a router or something? And he'd say, well, because I only build 4 chairs a year. And a machine like that takes longer to set up than it does for me to do one of these chairs. And if I needed to do 40 chairs a year, then it would be worth it. But the amount of time it takes to set up a table saw or a power tool or something like that means it's not worth it when I can simply grab a very sharp hand tool and use it effectively, because I can turn this block of wood into a seat and then sand it so that it's smooth in a few days, in a week. And I only need 4 of these things, so I've got all summer to do it. Why would I get power tools? But that's why when I started building furniture, I tried to use as few power tools as I could, because power tools are for mass production. They're great for producing a zillion of whatever you're making right now. But if you want 1 table or 1 workbench or 3 chairs, you can do it with hand tools. And the skills you learn using the hand tools are very valuable, because all of that stuff, as you said, works when there's no electricity.
That's
Whether
right.
it's wood, and by the way, woodworking is not as punishing on you as blacksmithing is. Bruce is right. Blacksmithing is brutal. Tommy. Hello, Tommy.
Love you, Tommy. Yeah, and I like working with wood. My dad got me into that when I was a young kid, and that's a fun hobby. My dad, he's retired now, and one of his coworkers or one of his classmates saw him, and he's like, "You're still up?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm still doing stuff." My dad, he's still healthy. The guy says, "You still work with wood?" Yeah. So Monday, my dad got a job pretty much assembling furniture, and either polishing or either sanding or doing some sort of work. And so he's just enjoying himself. He finally has his quote unquote retirement job, and he's loving it, because he used to be a CNC guy. So he knows machining really well, but he'd rather work with his hands than have to program.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, it's a lost art.
The only thing,
well, it's a losing art, or whatever you want to call it, where people don't know how to do things.
That's true.
I just wish I had learned how to weld. That's the only thing I haven't started yet.
I learned how to do a bead welding a little bit. So if I was to get somewhere, I think I could do it. It may not look like, really good, but I could do it if I had the equipment, if I find the equipment that I needed. So,
well, that's the thing. The more equipment you need, the harder it is to do it long term, as you said. When supply lines are down. I mean, I've got quite a lot of supplies for reloading, for example. Yeah, I don't know how long it would last, but I could reload quite a few rounds, and I could manufacture my own ammunition from the supplies that I already own. But once they're gone, if nobody's back making, powder and primers, brass, and so forth, I'm SOL. That's it. I'm done. There isn't any more. And that's the kind of thing where I'm worried about if we have a collapse. societal collapse. When the Roman Empire collapsed, it took, so let me just give you one example. 2 kinds of concrete, regular concrete and hydraulic concrete. Hydraulic concrete I only learned about because I read that the Romans had invented it. That's concrete that sets underwater. So you can pour that concrete into a bunch of rocks in a saltwater bay, and it will set in the salt water and solidify those rocks so they become, as you add layers, a breakwater. And that's how the Romans made artificial breakwaters, using hydraulic concrete and rock. They built buildings with concrete.
Yep.
When the Roman Empire collapsed, you know how long it took to rediscover a recipe for hydraulic concrete?
1,500?
Hundreds of years?
1,500 years. Almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost 1,500 years. That knowledge was gone for almost 1,500 years. Call it 1,400 years, and I'll be generous. That's a long time to not know how to do something. And when you talk, Janet,
what made them want to do it again? You see?
Well, the thing is, when you talk about that losing that knowledge, if you lose that knowledge, you have to start from scratch and reinvent all of that technology. That takes a really long time.
And the motivation for people in the Dark Ages was alchemy. And they ended up being the chemists and the inventors of alloys that they created because they were trying to get gold. So their pursuit of gold made many discoveries and inventions, creations that occurred. And that's going to happen again. But it's like, we constantly rediscover things, and especially generations do. You basically show, they do the I think it was the Fine Brothers. It was kind of funny. They give kids a computer from the 90s or a freaking phone. How do you use it? They don't know how to use the phone. A rotary phone. They don't know how to use a rotary phone.
I know how to use a rotary phone when there's a phone lock.
Look at all the kids that didn't know how to drive a stick shift.
They'd be
stuck. I know, but they'd be stuck. They wouldn't be able to use any vehicle that's sitting around if it was a stick shift. They would not have a vehicle to drive.
I always say that we boomers could control everything in the world if we just eliminated automatic transmissions and printed writing and made everything cursive. Because we'd be the only ones. It would be like the Mandarin Chinese. We'd be the only ones who could write.
You hear about the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, but we have to realize one thing. The experiment worked for the following. The generation that everybody ignores, and this is the smallest one, is the Generation X. And it's the one that we were left on our own to do what we wanted to do. And I pride myself in not doing anything because my entire life would just be like me doing whatever I wanted to do. And then me having my one friend. And then my first friend was my wife. So I went 27 years without a friend until I had my wife. And then I had two more friends. And then I've lost those too. So it's like, that was it. I was a very small knit thing. And I like that. That's what I do. It's me. I don't go out and do anything. I don't have any extra things I do. Everything I do is with a purpose. And I don't understand. Like, I can't understand people watching football. I don't get it. I don't understand the joy in that. It's like, no, I don't get it. I just, but that's what Gen X just does what we want to do. So it's true that that's probably the generations can actually survive better because we were left on our own devices to begin with. The downside is, of course.
Ruben, have you ever wanted to impersonate a fight between like Jean-Claude Van Damme and like Chuck Norris, where you grab 2 strip steaks and you just beat them against each other for about a minute and a half? That's exactly what, for me, football does. And I know that sounds terrible because I should like football, but I'd rather just beat meat together, and that would be it.
I've never seen a Van Damme movie. I've never seen a Chuck Norris movie.
Oh, no. Well, oh man, I got to get you. I got to get you.
No.
For
I'm fine.
Toxic
I'm fine. I'm fine. I know, but again, I'm at the point now. 2020, well, actually 2020 in a way, but 2021. I just said that's it. It's all broken. I'm done. I know, and everything I see now, I see the messaging, and I just like turn it off. I don't. No, I don't watch anything. Well, I'll tell you this much. I did watch something. I tempted to watch something. I was watching. I didn't even know I had freaking Amazon Video in my Prime whatever, because I don't know. I don't correlate those two because I don't watch it. But I said, you know what? Is there anything on? And I saw a movie, and I know it's a sequel, and I knew it was bad. I'm like, okay, I know I like this first movie. Let's see how the second movie was. And it sucked. After 10 minutes, I just turned it off. And I looked at the critics review, and they go, yeah, I agree. It sucked. It was like the Zorro movie with Banderas. The first movie was good. Second movie was shit. So everything's turned to shit, basically. All entertainment. So I just stopped watching shit. I like again, but your point is good, because a Van Damme is stupid fun. And a Norris is also stupid fun, but they were done practically. There are no CGI bullshit in those things. Then that is a delineation. Then yes, I could enjoy just a stupid movie to watch. So I stand corrected there. But again, but entertainment now is just CGI bullshit, and it's all bull fake bullshit.
There was a movie. It was called The Book of Eli. Okay.
Yes, saw that.
Yes. To me,
or I heard about that one.
Means a lot to me, because to me, I can honestly see something like that happening to us in our future, and thankfully God will intervene somehow to get certain miracles to help the rest of us, that unknown people that don't know how to do certain things or have the knowledge that we need. Somebody will be able to supply it, okay? Yeah. Because they're faith in God. I believe in that, all right?
No, you want me to...
But the thing is that is where I think we'll be headed one day if we don't teach the next generation what they need to survive. Years ago, when they didn't have schools everywhere and they didn't have jobs for everyone and people were living off the land, grandmas taught the grandchildren how to sew or how to crochet or how to make leather out of animal skins, so they could make clothing and shoes. They taught them how to make mattresses to sleep on, pillows, containers to hold water so that they could go long distances while they were hunting to find other food to bring back, and to how to smoke meat. All these things, using salt and other things to be able to prepare food and keep it for long winters, things like that. We have nothing like that anymore. People, unless you're an eccentric and you watch YouTube videos and watch these animal people that are out in the jungles and stuff like that, a lot of people just don't understand any of it because they've never had to their whole life. They've always had somebody prepare a meal for them, or been able to drive down the street and go through a drive-through. They get water out of a bottle, and when there's no more bottles to steal, they're not going to be able to find water because they're not going to understand how. They don't know anything about drilling, or they know nothing. And they don't want to learn anything because they always believe that it's going to be there when they snap their finger.
Yep.
Or use their debit card. And that's the sad fact, is that I really believe that we're headed somewhere where the government wants to put us in a situation where they think that we have to rely on them 100%. And the people they don't like are people like me that are trying to stay prepared to where I can grow my own food. I can kill a squirrel, skin it, rabbit, chicken, quail, a deer. I've never done a bear, but man, I would do whatever I had to try to figure that out, because I'm going to eat.
What's your
opinion? I like meat and I want my family to be able to survive. So I'm willing to do whatever it takes to try to learn these things, because I believe one day it could happen. I pray it doesn't, but I hope that I will have the skills to be able to take care of myself and my family. And I want other people to be able to have the same options. So
here's the thing though. You make a good point. Mm-hmm. My grandmother taught me a lot of things about cooking. I'm not a great cook, but I can cook in the sense that if you give me raw ingredients, I will make something edible. I may be angry at myself for not making it like a Michelin star chef.
Yeah.
Because I'm a perfectionist and it pisses me off, but I can make something edible. Now,
well, you would survive.
If I'd survive, if you don't have that resource that I did, if your mother or father didn't teach, either of them didn't teach you how to cook, if your grandmother didn't teach you how to cook, there are innumerable YouTube channels on how to cook. You can watch people screw it up, so you learn what not to do. Then you can watch. By the way, Fail Army's one. Anti-Chef, he's great. Anti-Chef is a guy who in his probably his 20s, several years ago, decided to teach himself how to cook, and his first attempts were so bad. I mean, one of them was so bad his girlfriend almost choked and just started laughing at him. He started out with Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking, and he made it his show on YouTube. And he's been going through Julia Child's books and making dishes from her book, recipes, trying to follow the recipe. And some of them are utter disasters. Others, he's like, he eats the whole thing. This is really good. This was not that hard. I can't begin to tell you how many resources there are with the internet, as long as the internet exists and we have electricity to run it. You can find out how to do more than anyone in human history has ever been able to find out, even with the resources of the best library, the best university. You have trade schools, you have culinary schools, you have university courses,
automotive
courses, automotive repair. Yes, I mean, all of that is on somewhere online. If not on YouTube, it's somewhere.
I still can't find where to
that's
go
the
to
thing.
live. Jesus.
You need what I'm trying to say with when I'm talking about getting the knowledge is get it while it's still easily available. When it's when the fertilizer hits the ventilator, it won't be easily available and it'll be too late. That's all.
I know. I tell people, they say, well, I don't have time to look at stuff. And I say, well, this is what you do. This is what I do. This is one of my secrets is that every day, usually you have to go to the bathroom, right? And you go number 2, which takes longer than number 1. Take your phone in there or your iPad, and that's when you look up a video and watch one video every day. Just one about whatever topic it is that you decided, how to raise a chicken or how to fix a leaky pipe under your sink, anything. Because if you you do it every day for 2 weeks, guess what? It'll become a habit. And you just have to do it. And you just say, oh, I got to go in the bathroom. I'm going to get what video am I going to watch today? And then it becomes a habit. You can do it. There is time in your day, believe it or not, to learn one new thing. And you never know. It might be the one thing you really need. How to change your oil in your car by yourself.
Does this make sense then? So then a collection, basically, figuring out what do I need to accomplish, making that list, and then scouring the internet for each of that thing on the list, your to-do list. You make a to-do list, the top 10 things you want to learn. That's what everyone should do. The top 10 things you want to learn, and then look up them on YouTube and find the videos, and then don't go down a rabbit hole. Because I always ask a question and then I do my research. I don't Google it. I'm not an idiot. I do my research and then I don't Google shit. I look it up. I research stuff. I don't Google shit. So I look it up and then going down the other path. Just for shits and giggles here. If you go to YouTube and ask it something, don't just go to the first video. Don't go to the most popular video. Do your research. And if something doesn't make sense, research it. Don't take a video for face value. Never do that. That's dumb.
Right.
Yes. Again, so that's what I'm saying. Do your research. Don't Google it, because that's what's and because what does Google do? what does the algorithm do? It gives you what everyone is watching. So everyone wants. It was like, look, here's a.
Wait a minute. Or worse, it gives you what Google wants you to watch.
Yes,
But they're going to make money off of.
But what they promote.
People get paid to feed you.
Right. So that's why, like the first big example that pissed me off recently was I was doing research on the Dark Night of the Soul and psychology of humanity. We all know that that's what it is. Unless you don't know, then look it up. Not on Google. But I started putting in the Dark Knight, and what happened? You want to watch
got a Batman movie?
The Dark Knight Rises. I went.
Yes. Of course you did.
Fuck you,
Yeah.
YouTube. Fuck you. Google. It's
No,
Google.
I know.
Google's YouTube. I'm just sorry.
I know, and yeah, YouTube is Google. And the other thing, Janet, I just was laughing before because back in my day, we didn't have iPhones and iPads. We actually took a book into the bathroom.
Yeah, you can do that too. You get a survival manual and read a couple of pages every time you go in there to go to the bathroom. But I was thinking about young people. They all have their phones with them 24/7. And they're like, well, how do I do this and how do I do that? Well, you can use that few minutes of time that you have to be sitting there to read something or to watch a video and learn something new. Period.
To cap on what you just said about taking a book into the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or a Playboy. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but
that's learning something.
But Playboys had some of the best interviews and articles of any magazine. I swear they did.
Oh, you're one of those guys who claimed he read it for the articles.
I did. No. I did read it for. I
never read them. I never read any of them.
I also read the stats on the girls. Okay, I read them. I read it.
I never did.
Is that why you have?
Oh, it's just so.
It was
perfect.
Years later. I remember. I don't even know if they even have it anymore. Is it Playgirl magazine?
Oh, I remember.
I don't know if they have it anymore because it was never my thing, really.
Well, I'm just saying. I haven't
think
seen
they canceled that in the 1990s, Janet.
Probably.
Certain that was a failed experiment from the Hef.
Oh my.
Well, I'm sure that some of those pussy hat ladies said, "Oh, we don't need that. We don't need to look at naked men." Well, I like looking at them because I'm a real woman.
Oh my.
And if guys want to do it, women do the same stuff. I tell guys that all the time. I was a tomboy, and women do the same crap as men do. We stand around the bathroom and say, "Damn, he had a nice ass," stuff like that. The exact same shit that men do. So any woman that says that they don't or pretends that women never done that, I don't know what planet they're on, because every bathroom I've ever been in, I've heard girls say that stuff. So,
well, if they say that women don't do that, they're third or fourth wave feminists.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. I'm just saying I've been around lots of women, and I never asked them if they were a feminist or not, but I've heard them all talking about it, or they're talking about their woman. I've had some lesbian friends, and they say that woman was hot, but they're still talking about it, is what I'm saying. Females talk about stuff just like guys. So
I think women get boob jobs just to impress other women. They know they're going to impress guys. But a woman will go and pay like primo dollars just to make one of her peers completely batshit jealous.
I don't think so. When I go to, like, I went to Victoria's Secret or whatever, I pick something out that I look at myself in the mirror and say, "Damn, I look good." Then I buy it. It has nothing to do with whether I'm thinking if someone else is looking at me. I see myself and go, "I like this." And I buy it. That's, it's like perfume. If I smell it and I think it smells like shit, I don't care if the guy that tells me, "I'm going to give you this," and I don't like the smell of it, I'm not going to wear it. So it doesn't matter how expensive it is. He either likes what I like and thinks I smell good when I wear it, or I just don't wear it. If it smells like my grandmother, I'm not wearing that perfume. I don't care if he likes it or not.
I think Janet, that's your tomboy there. That's your tomboy coming out.
I'm just saying. I'm just being myself, really, and I'm telling you, I won't wear it.
I'll say that again.
I know.
No. I was going to say, if there's any women out there that want to get married, let me know.
The love doctor.
I'm serious. No, I'm serious. I really am. I don't know if you. Oh, you don't even remember this, Spreadshirt. You weren't there, but because I made an announcement a few months ago, and I did it on the. I did tell Matt before he left, but he came back. I told him that I basically said I decided that I want to get married again, and I'm just again, it's twofold because I want to do all of it we've been talking about for the last hour and a half.
Yeah.
But I can't, again, it's much easier if you're like a canoe. I don't want to be canoeing by myself and switching arms backward. I want to have someone that's got my back and we can do it together. Jesus. That's the whole point.
And I will say, having been married twice, very happily married twice, I lost my first wife to a heart attack, not a divorce. That one, your wife should be your best friend. And two, to me, a good marriage is an A-frame. You lean on each other. Mm-hmm. I'm good at one thing. You're good at something else. I'll do the thing I'm good at. You do the thing you're good at. And the whole is going to be bigger than the sum of the parts. Mm-hmm. That, to me, personally, I wanted a partner. I wanted somebody who would compliment me, who could handle the bureaucrats that make me want to throw the phone against the wall. And she can sweet talk them into getting the documents and figuring out the process that needs to happen in order to form this company or whatever I want to do. And I will deal with all of the financials, and I'll pay all the bills, and I'll deal with the credit cards.
You balance each other out. You balance each other out. That is a relationship, and relationships take work. That means you have to do your part, and they have to do their part for it to work. You can't have one person dragging the other one across the finish line every day. That is not a relationship. Right. And that's one of the things I know Bruce has heard me say this shit. And so has Ruben a lot, behind the scenes, because, that's the only thing I can see that makes any relationships, especially the ones that have lasted many, many years, and they're still friends. They still get up and say, I love you, and hug, and they still want to hold hands because they respect each other. They understand the other person is not them, that we are different, and we're attracted to each other because of something. What is it? I see people meet each other, and, then they spend their whole relationship trying to change them into something that they weren't attracted to in the beginning. You know what I mean? I don't understand that.
That's ridiculous. That's a guarantee of failure. Mm-hmm. If you can't accept the person as they are. I mean, one of the things in Ruben said he hasn't had many friends, and I can say I haven't had either, because I have a very strict definition of a friend. The joke version is the version. Well, the joke version of my rule is then an acquaintance will help you move, but a friend will help you move a body.
That's the that's the friend.
Get rid of it.
To me, a friend is somebody who, even if you're not in barely on speaking terms because you've had a big blow up argument and you're pissed off at each other, and it's 2:00 in the morning and you don't have, AAA, and your car's broken down on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. You are not walking out of here, and it's 15 degrees above 0 Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. A friend is somebody you can call and say, can you come out here and get me? I need a ride home so I don't freeze to death because I can't start my car. Mm-hmm. And a friend, even if he's like, geez, I can't believe you. Yeah, I'll be there in a half an hour. Yep. And he'll show up, or she'll show up and give you a lift home. And you can call a tow truck the next day.
Because they give a shit whether you're alive tomorrow. That's the difference. But I have met people, believe it or not, I've met one, I'll just use this one example, that use like Tinder and some of these other apps that I would never use. But a lot of people seem to think that there's some kind of miracle relationship something. They met this person, a woman. She met a guy on Tinder, and they hooked up. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that anyways, because who's going to bring a total stranger to my house? No, it's not going to happen. Well, they hooked up, and then I talked to them later, about a couple months later, and they said that they're now dating. And I was like, oh, that's great. And they're like, but I need to buy a birthday present. Their birthday's coming. And I'm like, well, why don't you get them some nice, really nice silk pajamas? And she went, oh, that's too personal. And I'm like, you're having sex with them, but you can't buy them pajamas? What planet am I on? You know, to me, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You start in the middle of the relationship where it should be, you know, later in the relationship, because you meet, you get to know each other, you become, you know, some kind of relationship, and then you sleep with them. But they're meeting on their first moment, and then they're making out, and they've had sex. They've already got the end of the relationship at the very beginning. So it just, to me, it's all backwards. I don't understand.
That's the other damn thing. People don't make love anymore.
No,
apparently not. They're doing
most people don't.
But it's not a relationship.
They don't know. They don't know how to do anything. They're just stupid. I mean, I hear what they do, and I'm going,
because I'm old fashioned. They think I'm,
oh my God,
you know, they just think
Well,
that you're weird. So I guess I'm weird.
I'm old fashioned the same way. Mrs. Redshirt thought I didn't like her the first day we met because I wasn't trying to make out.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought I didn't like her, and I'm like, finally, just at the end of the evening, when I was taking her back to her where she was staying at the resort where we met, I told her I hoped I'd see her again, and I kissed her on the lips. I got a kiss, and she was like, "He does like me." Oh, but damn, he's slow.
Well,
yeah.
The thing is, slow and steady gets you there. You know what I mean?
It did.
That's how I get it. So she lucked out. She got a good one, because I'm telling you right now, there's slim pickings out there.
Yeah, I remember my wife.
I mean, I don't want a dish that's been pulled out and washed 5,000 times, put back in the drawer. I want one that's, you know, been used a few times, but knows what they want. You know, that's another thing. Yeah. I don't want somebody I have to train or, I don't know, mold. I want someone that's already ready, knows what they want, that type of thing. And I just don't know how people can start in the center of a relationship and hook up. I just think hookups, right. That's just not me. I would never do that. So
yeah,
you're absolutely right. I mean, you start in the middle, and which way do you go?
Down
or the up or down. Well, yeah. At that point, you're not going forward or backwards. You're either going up or down, and it's usually down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like, also see how that can work. But
yeah, I remember when I took my wife out the first our first date was when she's trying to set me up, and I went, and then 2 weeks later I took her to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra concert, and then after that took her home. She took me home because she drove, because I was using the subway and stuff, and then basically kissed her goodnight, and then she says, "You weren't lying." And I'm going, "Yeah, you don't know how to kiss at all." Like, I know, you're the first kiss is the first kiss I ever had. So it's like, it was 95. So yeah, it was funny.
Something new you get to try out, figure it out for yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a scary world out there. But the thing is that it's all we have. You know?
Yeah, it's the only one we got.
It's your friends and your family that's going to get you through any crisis. But the thing is, if you don't work at having good relationships with your family and your friends, you don't have a relationship. So when the shit does hit the fan, who are you going to turn to? Just like I said, it doesn't matter if you have a whole house full of gold and guns and water and all that stuff if you're by yourself. Because guess what? You got to go to sleep one night. Yeah. And someone else is going to come take what you have because you can't protect it because you're by yourself.
Yeah, so
you're alone. So you need to work on having good friends and good people that you trust that want the same goal as you do. Yep. And then you can be successful. You know,
that's safety in numbers.
Yeah,
you know, you can be very capable alone, but you can only be so capable alone because we're not all, none of us are Chuck Norris. So we're not an army of one.
Why do you think I'm losing weight?
Can't make a bomb with a
I'm serious. I have my food supply right here.
Yeah, and I'll
that
never
was a
be
TV
MacGyver.
show. Yeah, that's it.
That was great. That was
Yeah, it was a good show.
Yeah.
But the thing is, see, that's how I looked at my daddy. My daddy could do anything. That's how I looked at him, and he would just amazing. I thought, and he's still around, but now he's not able to do as many things as he used to do, even though he thinks he can do it. But he was Wonder Man to me. I don't know if anybody knows who that is in the comic books. He would use like nanotechnology, and he had an outfit with spots on it, and he would take a spot off and throw it out, and it would become something. And that's what my dad was. I felt my dad was Wonder Man. He could do anything. He could make anything. He could build anything if he just had the right few ingredients. And I wish I could do that. But we all can to a degree if we like what you were saying earlier, Richard, is read and watch videos. Try to learn.
Yes. That and don't give up. I mean, I'll give you an example also. We built when we decided to get chickens, because Mrs. Redshirt wanted to raise chickens.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to figure out how do we build a place for the chickens when we have predators around here. We have raccoons, we have coyotes, we have wild pigs, we have hawks and eagles and buzzards, and the free-range chickens here are not really an option. Jeremy Clarkson had the perfect line for it on Clarkson's farm. He says, well, if we're not going to have free-range chickens, why don't we sell them as well-exercised chickens? Because they get to run around in a certain area, but they don't get to go anywhere they want, because there's a neighborhood dog or there's a coyote or there's a something that will eat one. And we've lost a lot of chickens. So every time we've lost a chicken, we have tried to figure out what we needed to change on our chicken coop run, enclosure, and building to keep out whatever we think got in and took away a chicken. Yeah. So it's been a process of what in software we would call iterative development. We built what we thought would be a chicken coop, and we lost 3 chickens. So we changed the chicken coop, and we cut off access to certain things, and we lost another chicken. So we looked at how that happened, and we modified the coop again. We've rebuilt. I mean, we have added on to this thing 6 or 7 times. Then Mrs. Redshirt put a tarp on it this summer. We got this downpour like 3 days ago, and we had a wood ridgepole running across the open run, and a dog run fence that is the perimeter of the thing. So that's fairly robust. And we had chicken wire, wired onto the perimeter of it. So we had chicken wire stretched across the top that keeps birds out of it. Good, fine. Everything's great. He puts a tarp on it to try and shade it. Rain comes, big time, heavy rain. Her father comes in and goes, you better come out and look at the chicken coop. We go out there. The tarp is belly down 3 feet on both sides of the ridgepole. It's full of water. It's a swimming pool. We're trying to figure out how to get the water out of the tarp without punching a hole in the tarp. I'm standing at the end of the thing, holding on to a hose, which we're trying to use to siphon water out with. Mrs. Redshirt's inside the chicken run under the tarp, and the ridgepole snaps, and the whole ceiling starts to come down. And I said, get out. And so, then we just dumped the water out of it, and then we're like, okay, now we don't have a roof. Now we don't have a ceiling anymore. Right. The chickens have to be locked in the coop each night. They can only come out during the daytime.
Yep.
We're going to have to make another change to the chicken coop to improve the roof of the run. So,
it has to have a little top on it like this.
Right. Just because you don't know how to do something doesn't mean you can't. And we called it, we joked about it, calling it redneck engineering. We're going to
Well, you need to sign up for backyardchickens.com. I've been on that for years now, and it's got some great stuff because it's other people like you or me, and we put our ideas on there, and we ask questions.
We started out with a really pretty little wood and metal cloth chicken coop, you know, with nesting boxes and everything. Yeah. From the look of the scratches on it, when we lost our first 2 chickens, it was a bobcat or a lynx.
Yeah.
And it just tore the back off that whole coop.
Damn.
And went off with 2 of our chickens. So that was our start. We bought a little chicken enclosure for 6 chickens, and it got torn open within a month. You learn from experience. Once you learn, you improve it. You try and make it as cheap as you can. You see if you can find somebody. Hey, have you got any leftover cattle fence? You got cattle grid? Oh yeah, I'll take some of that. Because cattle grid makes a great bottom for it, or you could put it on the side to attach chicken wire to it. It reinforces the chicken wire. There's any number of things you can do to build something that will do what you want, whatever it is. I mean, I'm talking a chicken coop, but that's not the only thing you have to do. The thing is that when essentially where I'm back on is being self-sufficient is you won't know how to do it the first time. You won't be an expert at it the first time because you haven't done it before.
Just like getting married.
You don't do it. Right.
It's just like getting married.
Yes.
You don't know what what's going to happen. There's no real books or anything. You have to do it one day at a time.
Yes. You're going to have to work at it. So when you start doing something, you're probably going to build something that's either going to fall down, burn down, or tip over. And then you're going to figure out, all three. You know, like, but wait a minute. Have you ever seen Monty Python on the Holy Grail? I built this castle. I built this swamp castle. It sank into the swamp. So I built another one. That sank into the swamp. And I built a third one. That burned down, fell over, and sank into the swamp. But I built a fourth one. And that's the one you're going to inherit. And that's the way it works. You might have to build 4 swamp castles before it stays. That's the thing. It's not easy. Hell, if it were easy, everybody would already be doing it.
Yeah, but basically what you just said is exactly why we are where we are today. We have learned over and over again how to do something because the people before us got better and better at doing it. But they didn't teach the next generation how to make the best one we ended up with. So then
that's right.
They just kept putting Band-Aids over it. Instead of trying to fix it, they just said, oh, we'll fix it later. Just kick the can down the road. Yeah. And now we got a place that's full of holes with Band-Aid stuck all over it, and it's collapsing because it's all rusty, it's all bent and damaged, and now it's collapsing in on itself. And all of us are running around going, "What do we do? What do we do? We don't know how to fix it because it's so bad." So now we got to take a bulldozer, take it all out, and start from scratch. That's what we need to do.
And I watch a number of channels that focus on a particular company that is very dear to me, or was in my past. And what you just said about putting Band-Aids on it because you don't know how to do what the people did originally is the Walt Disney Company. Mm-hmm. That's where they are now. They don't know how to do what Disney did 50 years ago. Mm-mm. And they put Band-Aids on it by buying Pixar and Marvel and
Star Wars
and Lucasfilm. Yeah.
And killed all three of them.
Then they killed them. Then they killed them because their own corporate culture poisoned them. Mm-hmm. So now they're dead. And now they don't know what to do next because they're no good at doing what the old Disney company used to do because those people are all gone. The
only thing they're good at is this spending.
Yeah. And that's not working anymore because they don't have money to make money with. Mm-mm. So yeah, I mean, I was in 96. I was at Disney World, Walt Disney World. and I saw the Imagination Pavilion, which was, the classic Dreamcatcher and Figment. I came out of there with a Figment. I came out of there for the first and only time in my life, having gone through the gift shop and bought a Figment ventriloquist plushie. You could put your hand up his back and make his mouth move, and you could have Figment on your arm like they used to do in the Disney World promos, and have Figment talk.
Mm-hmm.
That blew me away. And Epcot was amazing. Went back in 2012. None of that was there.
Mm-mm.
The animation art was gone. The whole Imagination Pavilion had been butchered.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never gotten better. And it's because the people, the first, it was because they didn't have the money. And now this is my personal opinion. So disclaimer right there. First, they didn't have the money to do it right. They got so bad that the board ousted Eisner and brought in Iger. Iger doesn't know how to do it right. He only knows business. Buy it or sell it. So he bought Pixar. He bought these companies. He bought profitable competitors, made them part of Disney, and incorporated their profits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But he didn't do anything about the Imagineering end side of the business, which is what Walt created. He created the idea of an Imagineer.
The next generation.
Yeah, all that Disney is doing
they were
now
all dead.
proper is remaking things and reswapping everything.
And now they're
changing
remaking
everything.
things with people who are nowhere near as talented as the people who made the things in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have no talent at all. It's not about talent. It's
No
about retelling a story.
writing skills. They can't even write a good story anymore, let alone make a cartoon.
But their point is not to reimagine. See, what's the thing they say? Reimagine tomorrow or something they said now? Is that the thing that they...
Oh, yeah. Well, that's infamous.
But that's the whole idea. Reimagine tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that was
we're going to fundamentally transform the United States of America. Transformation. Yes. It's all about the future. Transition.
That was their ESG DEI initiative.
Yes.
Transform tomorrow. That was the globalist vision that Disney embraced, and it's been a disaster for them because they embrace things. Remember, this was at one time the preeminent family entertainment company in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the United States, in the world.
It wasn't that long ago where they were at that peak. What, 1999?
I think their peak was 2019.
96 to 99 was about 94 to 99. Everybody will give you a different year in that range, but that was their peak.
Mm-hmm.
They did very well when they acquired Pixar and Marvel, and not quite so much Lucasfilm. They killed that from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
But Marvel and Pixar were spectacular successes. And I mean, the Pixar films even after they were Disney. Well, even after Disney, until in Pixar's case, there's one person, John Lasseter.
Yep.
He was the guy who came into Pixar when they were still a hardware and software technology company, and they wanted to improve their marketing videos, which they took to conventions, business conventions, to demonstrate their capabilities. And they hired an animator, and his job was to make the things that their technologists could produce on the screen more appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one that he did was a film called, and I'll apologize to everybody who's heard me tell this story 150 times before. They made a short called Luxo Jr., which is about the two lamps, tall lamp and the little lamp that comes in with a ball, and he bounces on the ball and he deflates it, which is why now the Pixar logo is the Pixar name, and the lamp comes hopping in and he sees the eye and he jumps up on it and bounces on it and it collapses. And then he just turns and looks at the camera. That's based on the second short they ever produced, that John Lasseter ever produced with Pixar. And that was the one that broke the mold, because that was the one where all of these MIT, Stanford, genius computer scientist types were at this convention. They didn't care how they shaded it, how they did the ray tracing, how they did the lighting. This one guy comes over to Lasseter at a reception afterwards and said, "John, I have one question for you. Was the big lamp the mother or the father?" And Lasseter in an interview said, in my mind, I just went, yes, we did it. He didn't pay any attention to the technology. He was watching the characters. And the fact that he believed the characters were real and believable means that the technology was working, because all of the lighting and the shadows and the this and the that and the way the cord ripples when the little one hops along, that all worked. And that was the beginning of Pixar as an animation studio in 1986.
Yeah.
And John Lasseter is the guy that they Me Too'd out of the company. And after him, they made Lightyear and Elemental.
Yep.
So that's why
and neither one of them did very well.
Oh God, no, they're both
I'm looking,
incredible flop.
Yeah.
Looking at the list of everything that Disney has released in their history. I'm going backwards. Everything is a co-production with another studio, be it Pixar, be it Disney Plus, and everything here is a rehash, remake, adaptation. I don't see anything original.
They can't. They can't.
No,
because they don't have the Imagineers, i.e., the imagination, to make something new. And the people that they do have would rather turn Snow White into a socialist revolutionary, for example. And that defeats the purpose of the original film completely, because it's a I don't know what, 17th or 18th century German folktale. Originally. I mean, the context is completely lost, because they don't know their history. None of these people know anything about history, and that's the sad part. They don't know why Disney chose that story. They literally don't know why Disney chose that story. They don't even know, probably don't even know, the people involved in making that don't even know what the original story was. They think the Disney animated film from 1938, I think, is the original story. It's not. That was Disney making a fairy tale that was previously popular and written and existed. Cinderella's the same thing. Beauty and the Beast, same thing. Most of Disney's animated films early animated films were based on fairy tales. And they decided to take those stories and put them on a screen. And the people who are there now probably don't even know, or have never read, or have read to them, the original book story that was the basis for that animated feature. Disney today couldn't make Fantasia if their lives depended on it.
Nowadays they're taking lots of those stories, the originals, and making edits to them because they thought they were racist and bigoted and all that. So they're even changing history.
And that is entirely the fact that they don't know why they were the way they were, and two, they don't like it. They just don't like it. And they want to remake it for a quote modern audience. Well, modern audiences aren't going to watch their movies. Modern audiences are staying away, as Yogi Berra said, staying away in droves. So that's why they're in the position they're in. And Bob Iger is left holding the bag, which I think is absolutely poetic justice. They tried to pin it on Bob Chapek, and Bob Chapek was fired. Iger came back and found out, it's even worse than I thought.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see Iger go down with that ship.
I was thinking over. Look at this. I was looking at Disney's list, and again, everything's a co-production. It's on Wikipedia, and I'm going, nothing is original. Back into you have to go back to the 2000s or the 80s. It's everything else is a Pixar, this and that. Some other company did it. It's just insane. It's just like they snatch all this property, and then will distribute something, and then the sequel is going to suck because they basically start to inject stupidity into it.
Mhm.
And it's basically again. There is no excuse. Sorry, no not excuse. There's no reason why we shouldn't stand up for this. The same people who remove all the statues because they're offending people, remove things that they're doing already. That's why they want Disney Plus and all these streaming services so they can edit for a modern audience these things and then put disclaimers on things. And that's so that there are people who are actually believe that the Little Mermaid is a Disney story. It's original a Disney story. It's not from anything else. Hans Christian Andersen, who's this? Got white guy, probably racist guy. That's the whole idea. No, I'm serious. They are basically saying to them that's the original version, and it's not. And what's so sad is our government gave Disney this perpetual use of certain characters, and I hate it too because again, just an example, the music of Tchaikovsky is already public domain, yet they used it in Sleeping Beauty, and you get docked at it sometimes for playing music that's actually Tchaikovsky, and they think it's from Walt Disney, and it's not. And it happens all over the place. So
yeah, well, the good news for you, Ruben, is that's started to end.
Yes, I know.
With the disappearance, with the rescinding of the Reedy Creek development, whatever it was called.
Yeah, that thing.
Disney is fighting that in court, but they are losing, and they're going to lose, I think. And
I hope they do.
Point, I don't think that Disney stands much of a chance there. I think they're basically trying to argue that the state can't do what they did, and it can't take it back, even though the state granted it to them. They're saying you gave it to us, but you can't take it back. So that's not going to work. And their federal lawsuit is reduced to a First Amendment claim, which is ludicrous on its face, in my opinion. Well, in the opinion of the lawyers that I listened to, let's put it that way. And basically, once they lose Reedy Creek, their whole financial revenue stream, tax base, all these other things are going to change, and that's going to be a problem for them. And then, yes, you're right. They've been able to extend copyrights well beyond what any other creator has ever managed to do. I mean, the original Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse is still under copyright, but not for long. And I don't think it's going to be renewed again. And once that starts happening, Disney content from their earliest days is going to start losing copyright protection. Now, the people in charge of the company now hate that stuff. Yep. They may not care as much, but it matters for Disney.
Well, they're going to care when some young up-and-coming digital artist or whatever either comes out with a book or a story using some of their old characters and it becomes a hit. Then they're going to care.
Yeah, they're going to care.
They're going to be pissed off.
And then they're going to be. Then they're going to be.
Right now, I can see it right now with all of Star Trek. Okay, all the Star Trek that I loved watching reruns with my dad that I fell in love with. Them taking it and just making it worse and worse and worse and worse. But then you see great shows being made by the fans. Okay, that's fun and quirky, and it makes you think of the original series. They have some great stories and everything, and they hate that. They absolutely hate the fact that fans can make better stuff than they can.
Yeah.
So they punish the fans because they are good at what they do. Instead of going out and saying, wow, you guys have made a really good story. We want to bring you in and have you help us make a really good show. See, something like that. That would be great, but they're not going to because they hate us. They hate anything that we try to do to bring back what we loved when we were kids. And they hate that. Like,
Janet, I'm waiting with bated breath for Steamboat Willie to become public domain, because that is when I know you're going to see the best sequel to Cuphead come out, and we are going to have the greatest video game that's been released in the last 5 or 10 years. I'm not a big quote unquote video gamer. I do love video games. I play a lot of Quake. I play probably 20 hours of Quake a week. Okay.
mm-hmm.
Now that I've said that, old platformers are really like those are just a lot of fun, and it's fun to fire up a fun game. When Cuphead came out, that was a game that I didn't really play so much as I watched other people fail and fail and fail and fail again, because it is this generation's version of what would be considered a Ninja Gaiden game, which back when that was released, nobody ever beat it. Everybody had it on the Nintendo, and nobody ever beat it. And then when Cuphead came out, like, it is beatable, but you've got to be good. And that's where a lot of the people picking on the journalists came out with, get good, motherfucker. Because journalists would show you, well, I can't get past the training level.
Okay.
And that was wonderful.
There are no coincidences. Okay, Bruce, you have one shot at this. This is the greatest line you're ever going to have to say. When does that run out? What year?
75 years?
No, what year does it run out?
I don't know. I don't know when they did the when they made
next year.
Next year?
2024.
Kidding me?
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding. It's all part of the plan, brother.
Oh my god.
All part of the plan. Because again, it's going to be. It's starting. Yeah. I just looked it up. 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So
I am
again,
forward.
it's leading. It's all leading toward the divide. If it becomes no longer valuable. It's again, someone's making money. Disney breaks up. It's all part of the plan. But again, they broke up AT&T and they made more money.
Yep.
So
2 years. What was it? About 2 years ago? 2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
2.5 or a year and a half or 2.5 years ago. What was it? When was the end of the second season of Mandalorian? Was that 2021 or 2022?
I thought it was 22.
Remember.
Okay. So the end of 2022, I was on a stream talking about the final episode of Mandalorian where Luke comes back in season 2. And yeah, we were all, kind of psyched about that, kind of shocked.
I was cheering. Really, it was wonderful, yeah. I thought.
Yeah.
And then, the host asked us, where do you think Disney goes from here? All right. And when it was my turn, I said, well, Disney is now at a fork in the road. They can take the Favreau route, which is what gave us the Luke Skywalker, full Jedi Master, kicking ass, taking names, didn't bring any chewing gum, and they can go that way. Or they can go KK's way. They can continue the farce's female philosophy. They can do, girl boss series. They can continue to screw up the original characters. They can continue to crap on, characters like Luke and Han and Leia.
Yep.
And then they're going to go downhill. I said, now you will know, and this was what I got laughed at for. I said, you will know that Disney has reached a critical point when somebody suggests that they sell their parks. And everybody went, oh, you're out of your mind. Disney will never sell the parks. A Wall Street analyst less than a month ago suggested that Disney should sell its parks. Because less than a month after that stream that we did, Disney fired Gina Carano.
Yep.
and destroyed The Mandalorian and effectively ended any ideas that Jon Favreau had for that series.
Yep.
And season 3 of The Mandalorian was a famous disaster.
I didn't see it.
It was terrible.
I've said this to Mrs. Redshirt before, and with apologies to the Rageaholic, if Disney even hints at selling its parks, I am going to do a video where I do a chair spin, sticking my fingers in the air and going, "I told you so! I told you so! I told you so!"
Yeah. Oh, I think
I
I
want
should.
to see it. I want to see
I know
that
what I
video.
want to do now. I know what I need to do now. I want to create a movie called Steamboat Willie Sings Songs from the South.
Oh,
man. That's it. We're doing it.
Oh,
I'm doing it. I'm gonna dress up like Willie Steamboat and just come on, Missa. What do you want?
We will be able to do it after it's no longer owned by him.
That's it.
Yeah. But now that I've said that on your stream, Janet, I'm on record. I made that prediction. I made that prediction 2 years ago. I think somebody's already suggested it. Everybody still says it's absolutely insane.
I don't think
Bob Iger and Bob Iger and his management team do not know what to do with the parks other than raise prices and add as little as possible, as cheaply as possible.
How much do they think waste that Star Cruiser bullshit? God.
Well, that's okay. There's another one that I can go on record with. I have stayed very briefly, because I couldn't afford to stay longer. But a few years back, I stayed at a Four Seasons hotel in Miami. Now, that's a 5-star hotel. And the 5-star hotel is all about service. I walked out with an ice bucket looking for ice. This uniformed guy walking down the hall goes, "Can I help you, sir?" I said, "I was looking for the ice machine." He says, "Oh, what room are you in?" I gave him my room number. He said, I'll get some ice for you as soon as possible. I go back to the room. Not more than 4 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. "Who is it?" "Your ice, sir." I open the door. "Here's your ice, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Redshirt." Let's say it that way. There you go. He'd actually not only gotten me a bucket full of ice, he'd called the front desk to find out the name of the party that was renting my room so he could address me by name. That's 5-star service.
That is 5-star service.
For sure.
This place was incredible. It cost us less than a quarter of what the Star Cruiser would have cost if we went there. And I'm sorry, but staying in a concrete building with no windows for 2 days does not compare with staying in the Four Seasons in Miami with its pool and its cabanas and its palm trees and its scenery. No. So here's the thing. It's economists call this opportunity cost. If you decided to go to stay at the Galactic Star Cruiser, you gave up a vacation at a Four Seasons hotel. You can't do the Four Seasons if you're doing the Star Cruiser. Especially if you're not, richer than Midas, where you could just do both. The heck with it.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's not richer than, you can believe, not one of the 1%. The problem is that if you're going to save up for years to go on a vacation, the Star Cruiser sounded like a cool idea because it's role playing and it's this and that. And if you're a real fan of the Disney Star Wars tragedy, thank you, Pablo at Mimology, for that, the Disney tragedy. If you're not a fan of it, you don't want to go to the Star Cruiser because that's all there is there. And it costs a fortune. I would go to a Four Seasons. I'd go to a Four Seasons in Hawaii before I'd go to the Star Cruiser. That's what they didn't understand. When you decide you want to cater to the very, very, very top percentage of travelers, the 1%ers, you have to now compete with the finest resorts and destinations in the world because they'll fly anywhere and they'll stay anywhere. And if you're going to charge the kind of prices that they would pay to go to Mallorca or to go to Hawaii or to go to wherever, Bora Bora, you better be able to deliver something at least at the equivalent quality, or why would they go to you? And that's what they never understood. They figured, we're Disney. People will always come to us. I'm sorry, you're not Disney anymore. You haven't been Disney in 25 years, as far as I'm concerned. And I was there 2 years after you opened Walt Disney World, damn it. So yeah, that was the insanity of the Galactic Star Cruiser.
That's insane.
They didn't realize that, yeah, you can try and cater to the very, very highest end travelers in the world. It's very lucrative. There are plenty of businesses that do it. Four Seasons is my best example. You got to be good. You got to be as good as the Four Seasons to do it. They aren't. They never will be. I mean, the Contemporary Hotel is nice, but it's not $900 a night nice. Good God.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know.
Well, I hate to say this, but I would rather save my $900 a night and stay at the Best Western.
Hey, that's
Do it for myself. I'm
exactly.
cheap.
And then spend the money. Then spend the money on dinners.
Yeah, the food. I'd spend the money on the food and not spend it on my service. Because I got to eat at the Palms. I got to eat at the Palms, believe it or not, in Las Vegas.
Did you?
It's funny.
Yes, the one where they have the little thing over their arm and all that. They put everything in your lap and do all your stuff for you, and it was very, it was fun, but it was nerve-wracking because you constantly had someone hovering over you, doing everything for you, and it wasn't as enjoyable as the dinner as I thought. Now the wine was the best wine I ever had in my life. I'll
give you one tip. I'll give you one tip. I've eaten in one restaurant. I've stayed at one place my parents took me to, where we had four waiters. We had a main waiter, two assistants, and a water boy. The water boy just came around and filled all our water glasses up. The other two were there to help clear plates and set, deliver plates. They don't mind. Yeah. Here's the thing. At that level of service, they don't mind if you ignore them. They don't expect you to. They expect you to tip them.
They expect you to ignore them. Honestly,
but they don't care if you ignore them. And so, like for example, we had one meal in the Four Seasons, and we had wine, and I talk with my hands a lot.
No. Me too.
Yeah. And I whacked my wine glass and whipped it right off the table at one point. And of course, we were having red wine because we were having steaks.
Oh dear!
So I kicked a good 8 ounces of red wine in a glass off the table. It shatters on the rug. 3 people appeared from nowhere within seconds. They're cleaning up the glass. They're mopping up the wine and putting a new glass on the table, grabbing the bottle and pouring me a new glass of wine. And I said to one of the waiters who was doing this, I said, I am truly sorry. I feel like a complete idiot. He said, don't worry about it. It happens all the time. And that was it. They made the problem go away. Nobody else in the dining room even batted an eye. And within literally 30 seconds, the wine glass was cleaned up. The wine was cleaned up. I had a new wine glass and I had a new glass of wine, and I was ready to keep eating dinner with my wife. That's the kind of thing. When you're at a fancy restaurant, work from the outside in on the utensils, and then go to the top of the plate for dessert and coffee, and you'll never be wrong.
Yeah, it's a good experience. If you can never afford it, to try it, something like that, and see what you think. It was nice, and I'm glad I got to do it, but I don't know if I could. I don't think I could ever become comfortable with that, and I can see why some people are like that now, because they grew up their whole lives with that type of treatment. So I don't see how they could ever be with me or hang out with us, because I don't think they would ever feel like they fit in.
Well, I have a friend who, yeah, I mean, I understand, because I have a friend who does not want to go to any fancy restaurant for that exact reason. She doesn't know what fork and spoon to use. She doesn't know what to do with the cutlery. There's too many things here. I don't know what to do with them. And I'm like, the rules aren't that complicated, and they're not going to point and laugh at you if you don't know. If you ask the waiter will tell you. I mean, but when I first started buying wine in restaurants, I look at a wine list and I go, I don't know what any of these are. So I'd say, can I talk to the person who buys the wine, or the sommelier or whatever? And I'd say, look, I don't want the most, I want a red wine. I want a medium red wine. We're having these. This is what we're having for dinner. We're looking for a red wine. I don't want the most expensive, and I don't want the cheapest. What would you recommend? And and they never laughed at me like, oh, what an idiot you got to be. You have no idea how to order from a wine list. No, he'd go, oh, I recommend this one. I go, fine. That's all you have to do. Because in a good restaurant, they're there to make your dinner. Like just like the person who got me the ice at the Four Seasons. At a good restaurant, the people who are working there are there to make your dinner, or whatever meal you're having, as good as possible. That's where they get their tip. That's how they get their tip. They're not gonna. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to point out, Janet here has no idea which fork to use. Isn't that funny? That's never gonna happen.
No, it doesn't. It would now. It would if you were one of the kids at one of the schools or whatever, and you grew up with that. You know what I mean? You were supposed to know all those things, and you were at some boarding school or whatever, and you didn't do it right. Then you would get made fun of. But going to a fancy restaurant where you're going to pay the bill, they're not going to make fun of you. Even on a ship, even a cruise ship that's for the elite.
No, exactly.
They're not going to say a thing. They're gonna be waiting on you hand and foot, because you've already paid.
Right.
You've paid for it, and that's all they're going to do is just make sure you have the most luxurious trip you ever had. Period.
So that's the thing I would tell you about. The fancier the restaurant, the less you have to worry about how many utensils they give you, or how many plates there are, or how many glasses there are,
or whether you're going to put ketchup on your steak.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, just don't go to a traditional Sicilian. If you want ketchup on your steak, if you want ketchup on your steak, they'll give you ketchup. They might talk about you in the kitchen.
But no, I would never.
They won't embarrass you in the dining room.
I'll just drop you off outside. I don't know. I'll walk right out. Jesus.
Well, one thing I would love to have.
Reuben, on the other hand, if you go with Reuben, on the other hand, he's liable to point and laugh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of funny. I basically get very angry. When they say, "Would you like some A1 sauce, sir?" Fuck off. I literally tell them, "Are you insane?" No.
I would just say,
who was it? Isn't there a famous person that puts ketchup on their steak? Why did that pop in my head? Somebody's done that.
I don't know. I would just say if they.
Isn't it Trump that does
it? Probably does. I think he likes his steaks well done and with ketchup on them.
Yeah.
And everybody laughed at him because, only an idiot who doesn't appreciate beef would order a steak well done and then put ketchup on it.
That eats her steak like so I can understand that.
That is the most disgusting thought I've ever heard of. I want a steak, but make sure you ruin every aspect of it and take all the flavor out.
I like mine so rare, as rare as I could possibly get it. That's how I want it.
Janet, okay. I eat raw.
So do you like steak tartare, my friend?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I like. Okay, now I know. I like carpaccio. Have you ever had carpaccio?
Seafood. I love everything. I want to one day eat puffer fish.
Ceviche.
I would love to try it just to say I did it, even though I'd have to sign a waiver or whatever. So
you have, the other one besides tartare is an Italian dish called carpaccio, which is filet that's been flattened out so you can almost read through it, and then it's seasoned with capers and stuff, and a little bit of bitter greens and some olive oil, And I ordered one at a restaurant when I first took Mrs. Redshirt to an Italian restaurant, one of my favorites in Boston when I lived there. And we ordered a carpaccio to split for an appetizer. And we had ordered our meal already. And we start eating, and she's like, "Can we get another one?" Once again, good service. I call the waiter over. I said, "Excuse me, I know this is a big ask, but can we get another carpaccio? And can you?" And he said, "I'll put it in the kitchen right now, and I'll tell them to hold your mains, your entrees."
Mm-hmm.
So we finished the carpaccio, and as she's taking her last bit off of the plate, the waiter and his assistant show up with the new carpaccio. The assistant pulls the empty plate away. The new carpaccio comes down. We start eating again. I have some more. She eats a bunch of it. And literally, as she is eating her last bite of the second carpaccio, the waiter and his assistant are standing there holding our main dishes. And the assistant pulls our 2 plates up and stacks them on the serving plate, pulls it away. Her dish goes down, my dish goes down, enjoy. I mean, they timed it to the second. And that's an example of once again, of service. But also, if you haven't had carpaccio, wow, find a place that serves it. Try it. If you like tartare, you'll love carpaccio.
I'm trying to remember the name of the meat that I had. It's a Brazilian meat, and they cook it over the fire, and they cut it off.
Tapas.
And, what was it called?
Tapas.
No,
Yeah,
that's
tapas.
something. No, they cut it off right there over the fire and serve it to you.
Or like that?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It was so good. It's some of the best stuff I ever had. It's delicious. But, I'm weird. I don't like red wine, so I always drink Riesling. That's my favorite. And, German Riesling.
You haven't tried the right red wine.
Oh no, that's one. That's one. But the other one is there's another kind of Riesling. It's Alsatian. See, the Germans make their Riesling to be sweet, from medium to ridiculously sweet. The Alsatians are sadists. They put the Riesling grapes in and the yeast in, and they ferment it until the alcohol content kills the yeast.
Mm-hmm.
Their Rieslings, as Monty Python once said in a sketch on Australian wines, is a very heavy wine that should only be used for hand-to-hand combat. An Alsatian Riesling is the driest Riesling I've ever encountered, and it works with all kinds of, because it's so dry.
It was very expensive, and it was so good. Oh my God, it was like candy. It was delicious.
Oh yeah, I've had some nice. I had
it at the Palms
Riesling
restaurant.
I love Riesling.
It was so good.
I love Riesling. But yeah, there's 2 different kinds.
But it was good. I don't know what it was, but it was good. It was delicious.
But yeah,
oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about Alsace-Lorraine, where Alsatian wines come from, is because it's northeast, France, and most of the families there have German names because the place has changed hands between Germany and France so many times. It's part of France now, but most of the people there have German names. And they make Riesling wine, but they make it their own way. And if you've never had it, it's worth trying. Company to look for is called Trimbach. Very German sounding. And they make wonderful Riesling, Alsatian Riesling. So if you like white wine and you need something that will stand up to, a truffle risotto with scallops and lobster meat, that'll do it.
Yeah, it was good. I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. I'd have to get a hold of the person that I went with, and they would be able to help me figure out the name of it and stuff. But I can't remember. But I just remember it was a Riesling, and it was German, and it was expensive. That's all I remember.
German Rieslings go to, you've got to be shitting me price.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yes.
I was thankful when I found out how much it was that I wasn't one buying it. So I was like, it was good.
Yeah,
I would have had to put it on credit.
they can be crazy. There's some real expensive ones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, but the thing is that as I said, the reason I found out about that Alsatian Riesling was that I was having dinner one night for an anniversary, and I had no clue what to order based on the two different dishes we were having, because I'm like, I don't know how to match wine to this. So I got the manager who bought the wine, and I said, okay, I'm throwing myself on your tender mercies. What would you recommend that goes with these two dishes that we've ordered? And he says, I have just the wine. And it was that Alsatian Riesling, and it was a great it was a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've
Probably
learned
the same thing. Probably the same one I had.
Yeah, I've only gotten burned once when I asked somebody to recommend a wine, and they decided to unload some incredibly overpriced bottle on me.
Mm-hmm.
But normally, no, they would rather you told everybody how wonderful your meal was and how the wine was great with it and all of that, so everybody wants to come to their restaurant. You want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been back to the place that skinned us, so that tells you something.
There you go.
Well, we've been going at it for over 2.5 hours, and I know we didn't get to go to the other
that was on the planner.
The story that Bruce was wanting to talk about. So I was wanting to open it up and see if Bruce still wanted to talk about what it was he was wanting to bring up.
Which one?
I don't know. The one that you said you were really wanting to talk about.
No. It's good. It's good. The last thing I put up in the private chat is a funny little story about a zoo in New York City.
So you want to talk about that one then?
Yes. Let me.
I'll let you whip it out.
This is my Chaos 3 side popping out.
Okay, here we go.
Tuddle up. Sea lion escapes from Central Park Zoo enclosure during flooding. Timeline, New York Times, 8 hours ago. The Central Park Zoo's sea lions in drier times. One of the zoo's sea lions, Sally, briefly got out of the pool where she is kept on Friday during the flooding rain. Cindy Ord, Getty Images. A female sea lion, known as Sally, escaped from her enclosure at the Central Park Zoo briefly on Friday. Only briefly. Damn, that's sad. Swimming out to the pool where she is kept when the heavy rains lashing New York City flooded the zoo grounds. Workers monitored Sally's movements as she explored the area around the enclosure before rejoining the zoo's other two sea lions in the pool, said Jim Breheny of the Wildlife Conservation Society's Zoo and Aquarium, which oversees 4 zoos in the city's aquarium. By 3 p.m., the water at the zoo had receded, and all animals were contained in their enclosures, Mr. Breheny said. No staff members were in danger during the storm, and the city's 4 zoos were closed so that employees could focus on keeping animals safe. This story is making me sadder by every paragraph. I was hoping that they were going to report that there were dangerous carnivores loose in New York City, and we would have meat wagons out.
No,
forgive me. I should have read this first, done show prep, right? For Karen Duggan and her colleagues at the City Parks Department, the roving sea lion made for a rare sight from their 3rd floor offices in the agency's headquarters at the Arsenal, a building inside the park that overlooks the zoo. When we got to the Arsenal, everything was pretty flooded, she said. We watched it explore around the enclosure and then go back in. Even the animals of New York City realize they're in hell, and they would rather go back to their miserable cage than go explore the city.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine, though, all the rats floating around?
I was at least hoping for like a genocide of Rodentia. Okay, I was expecting to have like a sea lion spotted.
When it starts to dry up, it's going to look pretty bad because in New Orleans, in Metairie and stuff, when we had a lot of flooding, when the flooding started coming, you started seeing this swarms of rats coming up out of the ground, out of the grates. And it's pretty scary. It reminds you of a scary horror movie or something with all these rats coming up. And then you'd see whole ant piles like floating by, you know. It's really weird. I mean, I can't explain it. And then you'd see, every so often, you'd see gators or snakes, spiders, all kinds of stuff just floating by on just some type of debris or whatever. So floods are not fun because everything that would normally be underground is now on top of the water. So it's creepy if you're not used to that stuff.
There were other serious stories that I did want to talk about earlier, but we are past the 2-hour mark, and I'm not in control of when we shut down. So we will save.
Well, we're going to be playing tomorrow, right?
Yes, we are.
Oh, so we played DD. So you don't want me to be worn out tomorrow,
no,
do you?
I do not need Miss Janet worn out for tomorrow.
Okay, because I won't be able to fight ice giants or whatever it is. Fire giants, whatever it is we're going to fight.
Fire giants. Lots and lots of fire giants.
But I just want to say thank you to everybody who came in the chat and hung out with us. And thank you, Just Another Red Shirt, for hanging out with us tonight. And thank you, Ruben. And thank you, Bruce. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. But just want to tell everybody good night. And does anybody want to say anything about what you might be coming up on your channels before you leave?
I'll talk.
Well, tomorrow, if I'll just say this real quick, Ruben, and I'll turn it over. Tomorrow, if you want to watch a live stream tabletop game, Miss Janet from Another Planet and the rest of the party will be involved with that after 12:30 Central Standard Time. Usual run time is from about 1:30 to 9:30 Central Standard. So you get a good 8 hours of video of us arguing, rolling dice, arguing, logging information, and then mainly a lot of side chatter.
Yeah. It's fun though. And that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. And then Sunday we will we won't be in Discord watching a movie.
We'll be in Discord watching Futurama, and I might just throw on a movie I want to watch.
Okay. But we're gonna hang out in Discord at Bruce's Discord. Yeah, and we'll be watching Futurama and maybe a movie. And then Monday night we'll be back on Bruce's channel and we'll be reviewing Ice Pirates.
Yes.
We didn't get to do it last Monday because Bruce's truck broke down. So I'll let him tell you about that if he wants. But so it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to do it. It's going to be fun. We'll laugh a lot. So.
Well, on Tuesday, I'm going to be on 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser's channel on the Toxic Tuesday show. And the movie we're going to be talking about is The Fugitive with Harrison
That's
Ford.
A good one.
Yep, I did see that movie. It's based in Chicago. Of course I want to see it. Gosh.
Yeah, that's a good one. Back when movies were good.
Yeah.
Oh, don't remind me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I just want to say thank you, everybody, again. And I hope that you'll come back next week. Maybe hang out with us on Friday. And we'll talk about some more shit. More shit that's going on. So if you want to hang out with us, we'd appreciate it if you want to come see us. So thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful night.